Welcome everybody to the 48th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, brought to you by the Keshe Foundation, and my name's Rick Armen, for your host today once again. And we find ourselves at the 48th. That's like 4 dozen workshops over the past year or so, and that's just in the Knowledge Seekers workshops. There's other workshop series as well that we do here. I'm showing a video from, I believe it's from Andy Ross. It was on his Facebook site, and we'll have a look at that and show that on the live stream a few times. We've got some questions from people and some knowledge seekers who are doing experiments out in the world. And as usual, we'll talk with Magrav Keshe of the Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute, as well as other knowledge seekers there. Okay, without further ado, let's switch over to Mr. Keshe and see what he has to say for developments today. Mr. Keshe, are you there?
Yes, good morning, good day, good evening to you. We've got 1 hour left of the 4th of February in Canada. It's nice to be back here to, as Rick was saying, in total, this week is exactly, we've done 52 weeks without failure teaching and knowledge seeking. 48 on the knowledge seekers and 4 before that. So we have gone spreading the knowledge of the new space technology in a very rapid way and in a very hopefully correct way. We have taught a lot, we have learned a lot, and in the process we have gathered a lot of good friends. The whole process of the Keshe Foundation as of this week has taken a new shape. We have finalized our agreements regarding the university. The videos for the university has been just 1 second, sending the address of here. We will start the whole process of the university and the teaching. The scene for the university is unique. The teaching of it, as has been edited in the video, is unique. I was on the street in Barrie last night, and a gentleman who got to know about the foundation asked, he's actually a waiter, but scientifically interested in these kind of things. He said, can I become a student? Do I need a certificate? I said, no, you could be more intelligent than me. So for this masters and the undergraduates, there is no prerequisite. Does not matter what background, what level of knowledge you have, in what you can gather and add to the knowledge of humanity counts. Nobody is more clever than the other one, and nobody knows more than the one. We all know in what is our speciality and what is our field of interest. In so many ways, we have put no prerequisite. You don't need to have a diploma, you don't need to have a PhD, you don't need to have a first degree. All you need is the knowledge and the soul to help humanity to reach world peace. And this is the most important thing for us. We teach unconditionally, and we teach irrespective of anything which might be a hurdle for others. We will go in more depth in our teaching. I'm sure the university team will put more information on the website. All the enrollments will go through the university. We just, what we call, we vet in the background what we think is and is not applicable to the university. The whole study structure of the university is set on maximum of 250 people in the first year. This is for us to learn more, that we can add more to the knowledge. And in the future, and maybe after January, which we start a second term or second year course with it, we add to the numbers. There is a limited number of maximum 50 to 100 people on the masters, which we hope to start the first week of April. The people who we are choosing for the first group of masters is for them to become the teachers in October, November session in their field of speciality. Therefore, we go in the process that we look in the process of next 5 or 6 months for key personnel, key people who understand and they have a knowledge which can add on. And they automatically become the teachers. They learn, and while they are learning in a specific allocated sessions, they teach their field of specialty. We have, for example, a professor who's specialized in electronic. He's a student and he will be a teacher. We have a doctor who's on his way today here. He's one of the top specialists in Italy in gravitational systems. He's resigning to join the foundation in the quarter of the teachings. We have some elite scientists from around the world who have shown interest to be part of the first group. How they join, if they can resign on time to be here, all shall be seen. Or we use their position where they are to teach remote. The whole structure is set to spread the knowledge. One of the agreements you sign as a student with a foundation and with you becoming a student is two things. World Peace Treaty, which means your knowledge will not be used for anything else. And secondly, you sign yourself to teach on a weekly basis to your nationalities, to your language peers, or through your science peers. We are not breeding another group of peer reviewers. We are not breeding another group of specialized. We are breeding a new generation of man which knowledge to them is a gift to be shared. We have seen this in people like Armen, like Marco, like Elia, like Rick and Vince, and others who've been around the foundation. Knowledge is shared unconditionally. You've seen a move which Marco and Armen made last week. They released a specific and all the details of their designs and their patterns. No one ever has done this before. And we've seen at the same time a Chinese group already selling a US, what do you call it, star formation that you can buy. We don't even know who these people are. But as we say, they got on the bandwagon of trying just to make money. In time, we'll see a lot of these things. But the whole ethos of the foundation is, there always has been, and whenever there is a need, resources have been found to do. In the coming days and weeks, one of the first things, most probably even before the teaching starts in April, the first spin-offs has been started and start moving on here in Barry. The spin-off of the medical equipment, the spin-off of water dissemination, the spin-off of soil, and especially on the energy side. The openness is the key. And the people who think I'll hold it back and I'll put it on later on, or I can do something with it, sooner or later, these things will resolve themselves. In one way or another, we are looking to share knowledge and technology. If you go back on the Spanish teaching of this week, the problem is with them how they can share the knowledge freely with the poor people and the needy. I explained to them, go back to the Spanish session and listen, because otherwise we keep on repeating things all over the place. Use the media to teach what people, once they hear, they can do it themselves. There is no need for caustic, there is nothing else. We've seen the progress. In time, the Keshe Foundation team and the knowledge seekers here in Barry will continuously make videos updating. We have all the facilities to start one of the most advanced universities from scratch, and at the same time very rapidly. There is a huge need for financial support to purchase different systems and facilities for the university and add to it. We'll finance it, most of it through the foundation activities, as we've done for years. But the scale of the investments in development is huge. We receive it, we develop further. We don't receive it, we're static till we receive it. We know there are a number of governments who are sitting around waiting for the move that we open university, that it gives them a legal channel to work with the foundation. We have already been approached by 6 or 7 of them. This institute allows us to work with governments on not on my personal name anymore, but as an institute. My personal name as Iranian nuclear physicist has been one of the biggest stumbling blocks for governments in collaboration. Now, as a what you call research and teaching institute, they approach the institute for development. And this has been one of the major breakthroughs we have received, even from within the European community. We already have received approach that once the institute is set up, they would like to work with the institute. This takes the color of the passport and the name of the, what do you call it, the founder out of the circulation, because now they deal with the legal entity of education structure. So the changes are going to be huge for us. We have to learn part of the process, and partially we can teach them how we do it. And this is the most important thing, otherwise we follow the same of the past. I have explained this clearly to the diplomats and the politicians I've met in the past few weeks, and they are quite aware that in the institute and as knowledge seekers, there are no exams set, and this is becoming part of the problem, that how can you test somebody has learned. And I said to them, the test will be test of life, how they contribute and what they bring into humanity in their lifetime, not what happens in half an hour, 3 hours in a classroom. The classroom is the lifetime, not one man decides if I like the color of the eyes or somebody has been nice to me during the year. We've taken all these parameters away. There are rules which we have to follow within the structure of the European standard and the Italian standard of teaching, which is a standard we cannot go beyond it. But on the other hand, everybody is set to be a graduate from the day they join. So there is no sense of failure, I failed, I didn't understand. What you understand, or what you might understand in 10 years from what you received here, that's what counts. So we change the ethos of the work from today. Documents have been agreed, will be signed within the next few hours, hopefully, or next couple of days maximum. We have had the pleasure to be able to connect the institute upon its signature with a private medical hospital. And once we do this, it means the research between the hospital and the university becomes on the medical terms. Extremely advanced situation, and has brought us a new dimension into the work. In the past few days, I've been with the scientists and have seen one of the most greatest achievements that I thought maybe in 2-3 years' time will be on the table. This new development in the field of more or less communication and health changes the whole apparatus of the working of the foundation on the health within the next maximum 4 to 8 weeks. What I imagine needs to be done, what is physically in front of me, and all I have to do, and I've done in past 2 3 days, is to upgrade it to work in a structure of plasma condition. So you will see immediately a new kind of communication and systems done by experts in this field. On the other hand, we got to look in what other people bring in. As you see, I try to take more back seats as possible to listen to experts like the medical side, like last week, where we had a gentleman showing us new things. We do not look at the negativity which has been set around the foundation, because this is all literally have melted away. The progress now is how fast we can teach, how fast we can spread the knowledge, and how fast we can change the course. I've seen a few comments which explains, say every time we see a system, you say the system is ready for flight. Yes. Every system I have seen, or in the lab we had in the Sensano, or I see people pull together, every system is physically able to lift or create energy. The narrowness of thinking brings you to the point that how come everything can and nothing is doing. The point is you have not understood the total principle. And secondly, just go outside and look into the sky at night. Look how many stars you can see with your own naked eyes, and then look at the pictures produced by NASA and other space programs of the number of stars and galaxies in the universe. Every single star, every single light you see in the sky, every planet, even in the parts which are not matters that you cannot see, which are still magnetic field and structure, there is a unique way of producing gravitational magnetic field and existence. We have shown even the ones on the floor of the Sensano, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 10 different ways. Each one of you, every system you can imagine that you can bring the condition of creation of gravity and magnetic field, now you have the material for it, is actually a flying system. You have to find how. When you do, then you'll achieve lift or energy. Nothing in the universe is replication and copy. You just press a copy and it comes. The copy you have and what you need is layers of magnetic gravitational fields. When you have magnetical and gravitational fields present, you have created an individual entity which itself can fly, take position, and dictates its position in respect to its environment. So what we see on the table with Rick, or with Vince, or with anybody else across with the Chinese friends, or with people in different parts of the world, every single one of these systems can and has the capability to create a free plasma condition that leads to creation of lift and motion. It's you who have to decide as a creator how this will be achieved. From now on, what you add brings a new dimension and a new system. In the coming time, as we open the institute, we will show, most probably on the floor of the laboratories, you'll have 200-300 different reactor systems running, each one from a ping pong ball to a coconut container to God knows the most advanced spherical system. They all have the capability to create magnetic and gravitation. When you create magnetical, you give the entity presence. That's what magnetical is. Repulsion is the indication of the existence and presence. Gravitational is indication of holding on to the existence to guarantee the survival. Therefore, none of your system is wrong and none of your systems will fly until you understand how you need to load it. One of the reasons most of your system is not working, or it seems as it not be working, is that a lot of you have not come to the point of realization that there is an energy balance system. When we speak about energy, as I always repeat, is magnetical and gravitational balance. If your system creates a free plasma, which releases more fields to its environment that it can hold on to, you can't go anywhere because you're losing strength. If your system absorbs more fields from its environment, then you cannot move either, because the magnetical fields will create a repulsion field back. Then you sink, or you increase weight, as we've seen in the samsara. You have to be able to create a sealed environment where you control the balance. Now, go into your knowledge. Go back into the level of how you can create a balanced field environment where you control. When you can control the total environment, then you dictate the position. We've seen with the hanging structure in the lab. Reactor number 2 failed about a month ago during the holidays, and whatever we built up to 37, 38 was lost back to 12 point something millitesla, because there was a hole in it. Just because you cannot see does not mean it's not there. Magnetic fields are literally like gases. A plasmatic magnetic field is like gases. It looks for the smallest hole to escape. And once it escapes, you can't put the genie back together. So, one of the problems you have to overcome is in creating a balanced field in your systems. Be it a simple spherical ball, be it a star formation. If, until you don't create and don't understand how to create that balance, your flight system fails, or your energy production fails. It's so simple that millions of stars are created every day, but it's so complicated that it needs to create its own balance. Every day, every single day, in your own body, millions of star formations are created in the form of atomic structure. Individual entity, individual cells, individual atomic structure. Conversion of fields from the lymph into the matter of your physical body as a gans. Try to understand that, then you will understand how you can fly. As I said, I will never show the first flight. I've signed an agreement with my government and I'll stick to my agreement. But I teach you and I guide you to find your way. The whole structure is that the application of the technology has to be in the hand of the totality. You have to understand, and once you understood, explain to others how you achieved equilibrium in the balance fields of your reactors. In the shape of SSI-1 and in SSI-2, hopefully we'll go up today or tomorrow with Armen. We have created a monomagnetic gravitational dome. We try to create a monomagnetic gravitational dome, and still we are not there, because we did not manage to create a single nano-layer structure. In creating the caustic, we have created multiple colors, as we see in the dome. So we have created a filter of multi-filters. To achieve mono magnetic field, it will be rather difficult, but it's achievable. So look at the conditions that you can create monomagnetic field, gravitational magnetic, plasmatic condition in your dome. What does this mean? This in reality brings you to the point of understanding the conversion of the matter to nano layers and conversion of the nano layers to gas. In a simple form, this means that your dome should become a balanced position that no energy on the matter level crosses, but plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of the specific bandwidth can enter or exit. If you do not allow such a transaction between, or transition between the two, between your core and the outside, you will find that you start building what is known as a plasmatic pressure. And that plasmatic pressure will stop you from achieving lift. In a way, you create a plasmatic, because you don't see it, a pressure cooker. This pressure cooker has to have its dimension pushed beyond the boundary of the physicality of your system, and you achieve positioning. One of the most important things in this process has to be realized is that the number of layers in your nano coating, if you use nano coating for containing and creating a balanced environment, controlled environment, has to be mono. Which means only gravitational magnetic fields above matter level can enter or exit. This is fundamental. This is absolutely crucial in the whole operation. It's in the book number 4. The inner core of the Earth has a nano-coated layers. This is part of the structure of the original mother core solid planet which created this planet. In the layers between different parameters of the stars, we still have nano-layer condition between different plasmas, even though they are not visible, but at a strength they exist. This is very much like you have a liver, but you have a skin on it, which contains the liver. If you take the skin of the liver still more or less stays whole, together intact. But that skin allows its own gravitational magnetic field for the material inside to be created. Even though if you look at the cross-section of the layers of the plasmas in a star, like the sun, you will see a separation line, and that separation line is very much like a skin, and it's very much fine, not a Gans, but in the shape of a nano structure. It's not a matter state, it's magnetic field state, which on one side is, in a way, can hold balance between the lower strength and higher strength, become a container from the lower, like a diaphragm, and the upper side away from the center is the same. This is how the structure works. This is how you have to create a structure in your reactors. Then, even though in the future, in space, or on the ground, you open and give access to load and unload, you can control this part of the system. Then you stay intact inside. It's very much at the moment, if you get a bullet through a body of an aircraft at high altitude in a jet, decompression causes destruction. If you be able to understand how to create these layers, you can open your craft anywhere in the space, without touching the rest of what's inside. You change the containment, you change the plasmatic gravitational field of containment. If you look in the design of most of the spacecraft, we allow a hump in the middle, which converges downwards. This is your port of entry and exit. This is where, from that point on, you create one field above, which is for people inside, and one field in that cage according to the environment which you're going to unload. This is the way it is done. This is the way you create confinement and containment. This is how you allow opening and closing and entry and exit. But it goes back to the principle of creating a containment for your material, for your fields, for gravitational and magnetical fields.
Sounds like an airlock system.
Yes, Earth has an airlock system. We call it the atmosphere, but it is transparent. It's you can go across it if you know how to do it. We do it in submarines. We lock people in submarines, they can go out, and we lock them back, they can come in. They do it in the space program now. People go into space and come back in the lock rooms. But in space, you don't create that kind of lock room, you create a magnetic gravitational, which can be adapted to the environment. In so many cases in the coming time, man will open his eyes to other existence which live across the deep oceans of this planet. They have adapted themselves to this access. If you thought that what you see as a flying objects in the sky is the only place they go, no. Deepest points on this planet, even through the solid barriers, has been achieved. If you have the knowledge, you can enter the center of a stone and enjoy the beauty of it without ever destroying the stone. This is what is to come. This is what we say, thou shalt not steal. Because in destroying, you have stolen. So, you find a way to do it. You got to do the same thing in your reactors. You got to do the same thing in your cores. If you have a leakage, it's
Mr.
very much
Keshe.
like, yes.
Sorry, the delay. What color is these nano coatings? Because
It
black
all
would be
depends
a...
on if you ever looked at some of the knowledge seekers have had the opportunity to look. The original energy unit which we built in Belgium and it was assembled here and we tested it before, you've seen it, the copper one. That is one of the most homogeneous layers I could ever create. Except one spot. It took me about 2 or 3 months to do it. How I did it is that after I did it, I realized I forgot totally. I could have done it even without that small defect. You fill up the container with full level or how most of the height, in one go with the hot water with caustic. And you leave it for up to a month in a dark place, and you let it come into the light place. And it's like a cooking pot, you have to watch it. And then it was emptied and it was done for the second and the third time. This process allows a very fine process that even the materials which are created as a GANs, they go back and they become what they call a nano layer, which change to GANs. They become GANs and nano layer in the back themselves. So it's a very powdery, uniform container. We have seen some of our friends have managed to do it, and we explain it in other links and talks through electronic conversion, electric current. We saw it last week with Mike's situation where he connected the electric power to the, I think, nickel plate, and he started converting into a GANs, a nano layer. It can be done in different ways, but it needs patience and time. And this is one of the main ways that you create nanolayers. You can create gravitational magnetic field layers, which internally produces nanolayers on your dome. Means you don't need any electric current. You can turn your dome upside down over your reactor, set the reactors to a specific gravitational magnetic field, which their energy as a gravitational magnetic field leads to the production of nanolayers on the structure. This is how it's done in the universe, but you don't have that knowledge yet. We don't go and paint and create. You create a field. This is how it's done in the center of the, what you call, tangible planets like Earth. It's in the book number 4, we get it published, you understand, as I said earlier. The internal core, what we call Caroline core, has a nano-coated layer, which dictates the gravitational magnetic field of this planet. Because when you have a nano layer, you dictate the bandwidth. Anything below it is absorbed within the layers or converted to the power of energy, which leads to the heating of the outer core of this planet partially. The heating of the outer core is mainly through the transition of the magnetic gravitational field in the Caroline core, which hits the nano layer, converts to the matter layer, which becomes the heating of the central core and heating of this planet. You do not find plutonium, uranium in the lava which comes out of the earth. You find what it is, the metallic core. Inside, the conversion of the heat in most of the systems, even the stars, are created through conversion through nanolayers. And this is, you haven't mastered how to even extract energy from these what I call confinement layers. The assumption in the book, and that we've seen it, that nuclear materials can end up with the heating of the planet, in a way is partially correct, but in fact, as you've seen and you have creating a gravitational magnetic field environment inside the Caroline core releases fields very much, which has led to the creation of the nano coating of the inner core, which the energies in the plasmatic core in the center, which as you see the hollow core in your reactors, in going outwards, touching the nano layer, releases a specific mono fields that by coming in touch with the matter and core, what we call a solid state, converts it to the heat, and that becomes the heat of the planet. This is unknown knowledge. It's the first time I release this. Because now that you have seen nanolayers, you can understand the process. In the book 1 and 2, we talk about the heating through radioactive decay. But in reality, now that the knowledge is expanded, we can explain it more in detail. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, when we wrote the books, it would have been a nonsense. But now you understand the process. It's very much as I go back to when Dr. Yvonne Michel in the SSI pressed the nano-layer, says there's a current coming out of the copper. That's exactly how the energy is released. So when you produce nano-layers, fields up to the matter level, in getting absorbed in the nano-layers which dictates the composition, is allowed to pass the wall and then converts to energy, becomes the heating of the planet. In so many ways you can burn a whole tons of nuclear material in the core. This will not last long, not in billions of years. But the plasma, in a plasmatic condition, in very much vacuum center of this planet, allows the conversion of the heat through nanolayers to a solid state and to outwards. And this happens exactly in a star system. That's why they can last for billions and billions of years. When we see supernovas, is when the field of gravitational and magnetic field interface changes from the center. And then there is no boundary, there is no cap, there is no, what you call the dome on it. And what is passed when the magnetical field passes the gravitational field balance point, now you have an open pan. You open the lid and you get the spread of the plasma into the atmosphere, and you call it supernova. But in the center of the whole system, the whole structure of creating these nano layers between interfaces, the plasmas, stays intact. It's what is on the top of the boiling pot which spreads out. The center, then because of its gravitational pull, it pulls everything back in, holds onto, and what we call it the door. Now we understand the technology, we understand the principle, and you have to do the same in your reactors, in your star formations. What do you call it, the red dwarf, is always exists in the center of every star and every galaxy and every planet. Because that's the mother, that's the seed. And the seed will never open up. What spills out is when the boiling pot passes, or when the lid opens up. The only time you open the lid of a star is when the gravitational and magnetical fields pass each other. One superpasses, so you have an open surface. It's like when you boil meat or rice, you get the boiling and then the fluff overflows from the top of the pot. Because the heat balance has been achieved. And this is what happens in the star formations as well. You will melt, you build, you make holes and you burn your cores. I've explained this if you go back a year or 3 or 4 years ago. We see burning spots in the cores which we have used. Because we did not have mono copper. And the magnetical field or gravitational field tries to escape, and in the conversion, in touching the nano layer, burns a hole, creates a massive energy. But still it's so strong that it cannot burn the material, because the energy gets dissipated across the nano layer, because energy even in that layer, that level is magnetical, it gets spread across the whole nano layer and it goes back and it goes to the center. It's like a welding burns. We've seen this several times. So, if you have a problem, you cannot fly, or you cannot achieve the point of flight, find out where is the leakage. As long as you have a leakage, you cannot fill up the tap. The bath will not be full because there's a leak at the bottom. You haven't sealed the cap properly. In SSI 1, we have tried to confine it. There is a couple of points of leakage. I've seen it, but it's for the knowledge seekers to realize it. Armen's core is much more intact, is more sealed. We got to see how it responds. The hanging unit is literally a sieve. And you saw the sieve in the gas units before, where the center of the black hole and the white core, the small white core inside the bigger white core, it vibrated, it moved, and every time there was a pressure, it released itself. These are the magnetic sieves, and then you have to find out how to seal it. You have to create a condition, an environment, which you control, not the environment. Then you fly. All the systems. I haven't seen a single system in these presentations which cannot fly or cannot produce energy. It's for you to extend your knowledge, to understand how it's your car, you built it, you fly it. But if you don't have a right piston pressure, how do you expect to drive a car or get a car moving? The knowledge amongst the knowledge seekers around the world has reached this level. Governmental research has already passed it. But you work as individuals. And then I'm sure in the coming months, when the knowledge seekers get in, they all want to build their own reactors. Why not? If you can do it, you can. We don't stop you, we don't limit your knowledge. But understand where the problem is. In the single cores, which is the millions of years old according to earthly knowledge, single cores have flown for billions of years in the space. Star formation is a secure way to do it. The original, look at it this way. Does Earth has a star formation? Does an atom has a star formation? No. But in the formations like Earth, the environment of the solar system, magnetic gravitational field, dictates the position. And it has no choice, it has to stay where it is. The reason we produce a star formation is to give you the freedom of the choice of direction of movement. Every single core in your star formation is capable to achieve lift and landing. But you have no say on it. So in a reactor we've seen with WINS, you have 4 flying systems. You have to find out how you can contain it, to create that free plasma, to hold that it expands beyond the boundary. One of the problems which you have, and in time you come to realize...
Time is the issue, isn't it? Nano-coating takes time.
Yeah, but nano-coating with your magnetic gravitational field is instantaneous. Let me tell you that. If you, the way you put a copper plate in a caustic and you take it out and it gets nano-coated, you put it in the steam of the caustic and it gets coated, or you put in electric current and you're seeing coating very rapidly, with plasmatic gravitational field plasmas, it'll be much faster. And very unique and very uniform. It's for you to understand it. How to do it. You all put caustic in the pot. Now create a plasmatic magnetic field in your reactors, in the center cores, or in your cores, that can create that nanolayer. Because once you achieve that, it gives you one freedom extension which you didn't know up to now. And that is, as you change the environment, you change the nano-layer structure too. Then you can travel from one media to another, even without physical boundary. This is what has not understood as the first time we disclose it. With a caustic,
So
you have
this is what you were talking about. Sorry, this delay
Yes.
sometimes is a little bit upsetting. So what you're talking about is, because I've been having this question on my mind as well, is if we have GANs in the system and we have to be able to change the magnetic gravitational field of the inside of that GANs, the only way that we can normally think about this is to take that GANs out and put different GANs in. But what you're talking about is using the magnetic gravitational field of the reactors themselves to change the nano coating itself on the outside so that it's able to change the fields that it's able to absorb, which hence will change the inside free plasma gravitational magnetic field. That's what you're describing, is it not?
Good morning.
Thank you.
This is what you have to add to your knowledge. Because now the gravitational magnetic field, even the ones in the free plasma, is very much dictated by what your copper or CO2 releases. They only release certain field strength according to the bandwidth. This is what the knowledge is to come, and then you have to add. Because you want to go from one, let's say, galaxy to another, each galaxy has its own gravitational magnetic field strength. It's not the light you see in the sky like a flat pancake, as they call it, or a spiral, what do you call it, galaxies. These galaxies, when the man gets more educated, they will find out, have exactly like Earth, a spherical shaped plasma barrier. And in conjunction with other galaxies, they are dipped in and extended, so they have a very much dictated condition. For you to travel from one galaxy to another, you have to create the gravitational magnetic field of the galaxy first. Then when you enter the galaxy, you change to the gravitational magnetic field of the destined star or planet. You got to get in the egg before you can eat it. And how you do it? Gravitational magnetic field, just look at the color of the galaxies. The color of the galaxies is exactly what you have in your ganses. Different colors are different material, different compositions. The colors of the galaxies tells you what you have to have as gravitational magnetic field in your reactors to be able to be attracted to them. And then in that condition, the gravitational magnetic field of the copper as a nano layer is 0. So you go in there and you open up and melt down. So you have to create a nano layer as a barrier which fits and takes you through a transition from one to another and gives you stability when you arrive. In the winter you wear a fur coat, and in the summer you wear a t-shirt. It's very much with the gravitational magnetic field in the universe between different galaxies. You've got to understand what scuba diving suit to wear, and if you need to wear a fur coat and wear a warm clothing if you're going on top of the Himalaya. There is no difference.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, more than, well, let's call it a year ago, you were talking about taking the clothes off to get inside the pool. Now you're talking about just changing the clothes to be able to suit the environment.
It's the same language, but you understand more now. You understand more.
Yes.
Now that the knowledge is expanded, you understand more. You cannot enter into a galaxy system just because you nano-coated, copper nano-coated your material. And what you're going to do in the middle of the space, wait to find a material, nano-coat yourself and then go in? And in a way, understand what is a nano-coating. Creating a layer which is magnetic gravitational, and it allows you to be able to transmit and transform yourself from one to another. The nano layers on Earth gravitational magnetic field are nothing compared to parts of the universe. They just open up like nothing because there is no physical attachment. It's magnetic gravitational attachment between nano layers. And if the strength is not strong enough, then when you go in, you just open up. The field just opens up and you lose your control. When you build a craft out of aluminum or plastic or copper, this material can hold its position at the earth level. When you enter a stronger gravitational field across the galaxies or universe, which the copper cannot hold, your spaceship disappears because there is no binding. At the end, every atom is connected to each other by gravitational magnetic field. This is another step into the teaching. As I told you, we teach you as you graduate to the next level. Now you can see how you have to start nano coating.
Yes, so you have a mono-nano coating, or that's able to absorb mono fields. You have to have that initial mono field so that you can be able to change the structure.
In a way you have seen it but not understood it. Now let's expand the knowledge. You have seen the copper oxide and you've seen the CO2 on top of it. In space, you have to create such a condition with your GANS levels to create yourself a containment. You have to be able to contain life within the structure and change the parameter and the layer from one to another, even if it means creating 3 layers of GANSes. 3 layers of nanomaterial. Nanomaterial are of different strength. All are not the same. Even though on a top layer, you look at it as black. The blackness you see from the beginning is the first original layer you created. The rest, like your skin, comes from under up. If in the coming time you cut the nano layer and you expand and look at the layers, you will see different magnetic field strength across the layers, and even different colors. Now you learn how to make caustic nano layers. In the past few weeks, with the expansion of knowledge, others have shown you how you can make nano layers with a very low current. Now extend the knowledge. You have to look and test cores which create the plasmatic magnetic field nano layers through your free plasma. Until you do not understand this, I warn you, do not even think to travel beyond this solar system, not even in this solar system with this technology. Because even in the plasma of the solar system, there are magnetic field oceans which are much stronger than matter state of the Earth. You become a disappearing noise in the plasma of the universe.
Right, and just like the ocean, there's waves and currents and tidal waves and everything else. And we have to be prepared for that.
In a way, you become a sugar in the hot water. You were a sugar lump as long as you were in a cold water, but once you hit the hot water, you dilute. You're still a sugar, you still exist, but what are called dislocated.
But if you put a bag around that sugar and put it in the same water, it doesn't do anything.
Good morning. It depends how you want the bag.
Yeah, it's still in the environment of the water, of the hot water, but it's in its own environment inside that environment.
In so many ways, yes. I mean, if you remember, nowadays we hardly see them. About 30, 40 years ago, there was what we call, nobody ever heard of the plastic bags. Everything used to be paper bags, you know? And we couldn't carry liquids and things in the paper bags. And then when the new plastic bags came in, everything changed. It depends, the environment of Earth hasn't changed and liquid is still liquid. It's just that we found a different way of containing it. It's adapting and developing, and in a way, the way we teach creates a new way of thinking of openness to knowledge. It's not that just because the professor says, as we said, the speed of light is the ultimate speed, and we all agreed with the professor that it brought us in this situation we are in science. Now we are all professors with the openness that our professorship extends to the totality of the knowledge of the universe. As
You know, I was
said,
looking at that just the other day. I seen a video which was, you know, do you think you know what the speed of light actually feels like? Or not feels like, but in comparison to the solar system. And you start it at the sun, and it takes minutes upon minutes to get to planets. And that cannot be the way that this solar system or universe operates. To have it minutes and days and weeks and whatever in between the fields getting there, or the fastest fields. It just doesn't make any sense in my book.
we were testing, or not testing, we were looking at a beautiful system yesterday, electronic system on the table. The essence of this new system is unique, the way it's made is genius, the way it's done, is that we looked at this and then we went for a drive, we were talking in the car, you know, scientists get together, it's a madness, mayhem at our level. Extent of knowledge goes very rapid. And through the system which is set up was on the table, and then we had to go to a laboratory to test something, and we came back, we were in the car nearly 2 hours just driving. I explained to the scientists that the system they developed, actually the system that is on the table, an extension of knowledge with the scientists, zero-time communication systems were sitting in front of them and they were not realizing. And it's so simple. Total cost, I was told, will be about $50. We are looking at the conditions now that, let's say, if you have, let's say, cancer in South America, this is not a fantasy, this is a physical system on the table. It's going to be tested very soon. You can send a drop of your blood to the center, let's say in China. A monitor guy gets the blood, puts in the system which is seen. That's your blood without the cancer should be, and the blood with the cancer cell given. He can tune from remote, and the cancer can change in your body. The theory of this goes back, if you understand, because Einstein didn't understand it, he called it the funny things. When you change the polarity of one atom, the other one changes as well, but he couldn't understand why, because he never understood the principle of twinity.
Yeah, it's also called quantum entanglement.
Or spooky action at a distance.
Yeah, spooky action. Now this is spooky action, sits on the table in front of me yesterday for 3 hours.
So these tests have been done before in terms of what I've seen or what I've researched is that they would take somebody's blood and take it far away from them and then subject the owner to different emotions and measure the responses on the blood at certain distances. And the funny thing that they found was that it was a funny thing, because the distance did not matter. It was always an instant change with the person's blood, no matter what the distance was. when the person showed specific emotions. So what you're talking about is exactly what we just talked about in the reactor, except that when you send some blood, let's say, it's already attached to you and at your Magrav. So by being able to change the coatings, like as in the reactor, you can change that Magrav of the blood, and it's instantaneously brought back to the original owner.
Very much so. But let me tell you what I was explaining yesterday. If you understand the implication of this development in the coming months, because we're going to pursue it very rapidly, very vigorously to be done, because it's part of the space technology communication line, it brings back with you with a line of connection with your emotion. Which means, actually the scientist said, mobile phones are useless now, huh? I said, now you understand, good morning. What does this mean? It means as much as you're connected to your mother because you have the telephone number through your gene connection and gravitational magnetic field, the funny thing you call it, the spooky thing. Now you can, and it's part of your brain structure, what I call zero-time communication with who you like to think. You think about your, let's say, wife, and you think about your son, and you dial the number according to what you're going to be taught. You better think good thing about him. Don't say, my son, I love you, and say, what a stupid guy. Because he hears both of them. And this is what is going to come. This is what is part of the development of this technology. So, in so many ways, in the coming weeks and months, with development of the technology further into plasma only, then you find a zero-time communication, and even the mobile phones are useless.
You know, it was really funny. That brought up another little bit of a, sorry, I'm talkative today. That brought up another little thing that happened to me, is that I was thinking of my son because he was at a concert with my wife, and I was just getting off of work. And I asked how things were going, and she said, good, we were at this and this, such and such a concert, blah, blah's on the stage. So I immediately had a sound or a music in my head, so I wrote her back what song that I had in my head, and she said, oh, this song's playing right now. So it was really about exactly the same thing you just talked about.
Yeah, but the thing is now there are facilities and the knowledge is there that we can expand into it. And we can show it. One of the realities is what we opened up in the Knowledge Seekers, the health workshop this week. The structure and the way and the position of the liver in the body of the man, where I explained all the fields and the ganses is not what you see, it's just from the blood. It mainly comes from the lung and from the digestion limbs system. You need both a gans and a plasma to hold. The body does it in the liver. If you look at the structure of the kidney, when the next teachings will be about, it's about the same. If you look at the conversion of the matter into a gans and the gans into matter, or matter state of the gans, look at the working of intestine and bladder, and the kidney. In fact, the kidney converts energy into matter state. And so it does your big intestine. It does the same thing. You have to learn how your reactors work. Go back to if it's too far to go and think of an atom or a galaxy, look at the structure of the human body. This is what I always say, the biggest advantage for the Keshe Foundation working this way has been the health side, because we learn everything about the space in the space of the body of the man. It's the best galaxy vacuum system we have, and we can test everything on it. We don't need to go into deep space to see what happens in the condition of one galaxy or the other one. Liver is a galaxy on its own with all its planets, and kidney is the same. And the worst one is the black hole, which you call it the heart, because it continuously pumps and it has all different characters. So why should I need to spend trillions to go, maybe able in 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, across the boundary of the solar system? I go from one solar system and one galaxy to another, you call it the cell of the kidney, and then the kidney itself, which is the galaxy. And we've seen it, our operation has shown what it is and how it is. The whole understanding has to come, maybe from today's teaching, is to start looking to create nano layers, or nano layer condition, or cascading through the production of the plasma, through production of the free plasma. Don't nano coat your material and put it on the top. Put a material, put a cooking pot on top of your cores, a plastic washing top, and then measure it if you can, if it's nano layers before, and after a few days or a few weeks, see if it's changed anywhere. The way you test the plastic tubes. You've seen it, and we don't try to be funny or to be ridiculous, but in a way, by choosing a plant pot as a SSI-1, we try to go back the way you lot did the same with the ping pong ball, to show the simplicity that there is no water. And if you can put a big plastic tub with some ping pong ball, which costs less than a few dollars, how many Africans would you like in the White House? This is the change. This is what is about to happen. And we are weeks and months away from it. There is enough ping pong balls around the world and enough coconuts. And if you can put a plastic sheet dome that you can nano coat with its plasma, do you need caustic? And as we say, good morning, Washington. This is why we push for the World Peace Treaty. This is why we're pushing more and more for expansion and openness of technology. Because don't forget, African scientists are in so many ways much cleverer nowadays than they ever been. They see a totality which European scientists don't see, because here very much focused to one subject. When you talk to the scientists from African nations, you find out there's a depth in the knowledge. When I speak to the Iranian scientists, I enjoy talking to them because it's not narrow-minded one topic. The knowledge has been expanded because of the need to survive. And in a short time, once the technology, the way you lot are opening it, this is a craft unit, will cost less than $1,000. This is what the government push has to be for world peace. This is the government push has to be for eradication of all the religious dysfunctioning systems. I see it in a matter of coming time. There is no nationality border, because you cannot tell an African get on a boat and cross a water. Now he has access to 4 ping pong balls and little engines, and he can nano coat it, and he can put a plastic top. He's got his own car. Where would you like him to land? The same goes for South America. The same goes from the guy in India or in China. National borders through technology is over. And now we teach you how to do it more and more. And there are people learning it. We have millions of listeners across the world. And we've seen what our Chinese friends have done and how you do in Canada or in South America. The whole emphasis for the first year was to teach you to understand the property of the plasma in the state of GANs, because you're humans. You need to have something tangible to call it the plasma. We call it the GANs, and you accept it, you see it in its performance. Now is to go to the next level, which is a non-tangible plasma, which is like a solar system. Now, where would you like to be? The only difference, as I always said, between you, your system, And a planet is, a planet's gravitational magnetic field is fixed and established, and that center core is locked, and that's it. With you, you have the possibility to change it, so you can move and change the position. Sorry, Rick, carry on.
I was just going to mention that someone had a question, and there was a recent news article just came out yesterday about Iranian satellites successfully placed in orbit, and they were saying how there's very few countries of the world that have the capability of putting a satellite into space. Even the U.S. is having trouble. I know that they use the Russian booster rockets for getting their satellites into space. So the question is, Rick, would you please ask Mr. Keshe if Iran has plasma reactor spaceship technology, why do they still use rockets to put satellites into orbit? Thank you very much, Dino.
First of all, I have nothing to do with the operation of what happens in Iran. Secondly, internally you have to understand the Iranian work. Iran has 3 different space agencies, and each one is independent. And secondly, if you understand the structure of the military and the running of the government, Iran has 2 different separate armies totally, a national army and what they call the Pastar Sabah. Each one does research independent of the other one. And when they are at the level they want to do things, they do. Because in Iran you still need satellites, you still need do things. We have a rocket, they have a space program, they have a space ministry, they have a spaceship program, and they have what they call like to do with the animals and everything else living in the space. There are 3 different levels of space technology which runs parallel, and they are totally independent from each other. And at the same time, what we see, the rocket technology sits mainly with the Sepah. They are responsible for as you see, all the rocket launches and things are shown with the military. They are independent, we respect all their integrity, they have to be there. They are part of the structure of the military of Iran defense technology. How is abused or used is different way, and how is used in development of the space technology is different way. Each one supports its own technology, and this is the beauty of it, because in space you need a collection.
Well, it's a similar arrangement in many countries of the world, I believe. And if we look at the U.S., they don't really have their own rockets to send things into space, so they buy and borrow from the Russians, and they're trying to develop their own. At the same time, they may have this anti-gravity type spacecraft hiding away with some company or corporation in the same country without knowing about each other. Sorry.
No, it's just somebody in the center knows. There's a central operation which gives a freedom to do. You have what they call Area 51, Las Almas, and as you know, you've seen it because I've been on both sides of the fence. Boeing is extensively involved in the space technology. So is Lockheed Martin, so other organizations. NASA works in one way, and at the same time, what do you call it, Cascading Scientific Organization, US, DARPA works in a different way, knowing who's doing things and nobody knows. This is part of the structure, because the science is not limited. You cannot say the proportion scientists, you are finished, you're going to go home. You allow them to develop, and then you merge somewhere down the line the propulsion with gravitational magnetic systems together. You got to understand why the Americans give the most of the launching to the Russians. At the beginning of the 1990s, when the space program, when we went through what I call the revolution in Eastern Bloc, from communism to democracy, Huge number of scientists in America, in Russia, were sitting on the edge, were not prepared to move to America. It became very much like the time in German time. Part went to Russia, part went to America. The Russian scientists, because of their know-how, they are much, much more advanced than NASA. Years. I've been in touch with them. I've been in their, I know, let's put it this way, I know too much. US passed a law, a very rapid law, in the Senate and in the lower house, and they gave 10 billion to the Russians as an investment for today, when their rocket system fails and when they cannot launch themselves. You have already prepaid 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 billion for this work. You subcontracted the job out and you already prepaid for it. And the Russian Space Agency guys used it to enhance and develop further programs and carry on with their development of the space lab. So when you look, the Americans give the Russians to do the job, you already paid for it heavily in advance. And there are clauses in this agreement that Russia will carry these kind of jobs for the Americans, because the Americans are far behind in this program. So it came, in a way, was bought as a part of the landing system, how to land on the surface and stuff, landing in the sea as the Americans used to do. But part of the totality is that the Russians will carry on when the Americans fail in their system, because they knew sooner or later the shuttle system will be shelved, they cannot support it. And as we've seen, most of the supporting technologies here and there, they fail, as NASA did. You got to realize something, as I explained this before, for the first time in the world of science, with this technology, you carry with the, and you move with the protection. You have a magnetic gravitational field protection. Rockets are at mercy of all sorts of things. You're talking about tons and tons and tons of fuel burning. God knows, if we get a hole in our magnetic field, we see where it goes. What happens when you get a fuel leaking? And we see how the rocket's lost. It's not going to be easy ride even with the Starship program. If you get a leakage, you have a problem. But this way, the leakage is supported with 4 reactors and you have a shielding on its own which can reflect back. All the 4 reactors, the magnetic shielding, your gravitational magnetical field, is your shielding internally, one on top of each other. So it's the first time you can fly, you can position yourself in a very comfortable position, that at least you are protected. But at the same time, the knowledge is spreading so fast that one of the biggest problems for the space travels of future is these satellites which are up in the sky. Soon you will understand what I'm talking about. Not all the pilots are perfectionists and perfect, huh? And when you have too many things dangling in the air, sooner or later somebody's going to hit it. Don't rely so much on your GPS and on your mobile system, because sooner or later one of these satellites, when the man gets into space, will be melted. Will be hit. So soon the GPS doesn't work. We are not going to be professionals from the first go. There'll be a bunch of amateurs and people will test all over the world. And then they planned to be on the moon, they ended up on the Mars, and on the way they take 2 satellites with them. This is the reality. I tell you something. Speak to the Iranian space people, they tell you what they are doing, you'll be laughing. They're highly professional people. But the space debris cleanup will be very interesting very soon.
I just remembered that the first 2 cars that were made crashed into each other. So if we're out there with their spacecraft that going at Mach 40, there's a good chance that something could go wrong. But on the other hand, there's just so much junk out there. Like you say, one of the jobs of the future will be running around and picking up this junk, no doubt, to clean up the outer atmosphere.
Yeah, but the thing is, space is full of what we call cosmic dust. These are not that
Right.
bad, but in a way we see it.
You still need a protective envelope that's more than a matter level material to withstand any kind of, even a piece of dust would penetrate right through a spacecraft at any kind of speed.
Yeah, that's why you have the shielding, and that's why we try to teach you double and triple layer shielding.
Well, I was going to say about that, I had a question about that regarding, you mentioned like 4 reactors creating a field and so on. Where's the backup system in terms of what if one of those reactors kicks out, like happened recently at the Spaceship Institute in the testing or whatever? But in a space situation, that would be obviously quite critical. But I presume that the reactors would be more or less, well, bulletproof's not the correct word, but fail-proof.
No, they are not fail-proof. The human loss in the space through mechanical failure or plasma failure will be worse than the aircrafts of today. Will be worse. And this is not only happening to human race, it's happening to all the races who take this step. We enter unknown conditions, we enter unknown positions, we enter fields beyond. You enter conditions that you tune to go to Mars and you end up in another, what do you call it, solar system, because by mistake you tune the wrong magnet. These are all part of the process. One of the things, for example, that none of you have ever considered is, what about if you change the pressure on the plasma? If you change gravitational magnetic field plasmatic pressure in your cores, have you ever considered that? Then I tell you, space travel will become instantaneous. You're all at the moment, it's what we have to go through. It's not that why don't you tell us things from the beginning. You have to go step by step to understand, to be able to mature, to go to the next step. We touched this before Christmas and around New Year. But nobody understood. And I go back to it again. You should be able to create gravitational magnetic field flow through the piping nano-coated in your cores. And if you can increase the pressure, then you go from copper to zinc and from zinc to plutonium, or vice versa, or either way you can go up and down to sodium and you go all the way to uranium. You create a change through the pressure change, gravitational magnetic field pressure change. This happens in the human body. You got to start bringing all the pieces of puzzle together to be able to complete the picture. You got gravitational magnetic field pressure, you got gravitational magnetic plasmatic current, you got the mixture of the fields, and then you have the positioning. If one by one, slowly each one of you masters the 4 and bring all of you in one core, then you understand how you operate. I saw a beautiful system with Mike last week, but none of you could see it, but in time we'll go back to it. Unknowingly, he showed us a very, very powerful system. Unknowingly. Because he looks at the matter state. If he takes it a step further in a few months' time when he understands more, move the ball in the center to the position to become the center point on the top as a star, up top of the star formation with the rings. Your 3 reactors become the 3 rings. How and what a homogeneous plasmatic, non-leakable system you have created. Increase the, or replace the top core, which he had on his plate, to the top, again with 3 rings. Then you will see beautiful images and changes. At the moment you're all working with 1 layer and a GANs inside it. He's managed to change the barrier. As I said, as you open up, I expand the knowledge. In his system with the 3 rings, he has created a condition of constant, non-leaking, homogeneous layer. Now, you can keep the center core on the top, or replace the top core with the same 3 smaller ring. It has to be in a ring formation, no spheres, with the same composition. Now you have, let's say, copper oxide, CO2 and CH3. If you understood by changing the current and the compression in each ring, you can have CH3, copper oxide and CO2 in 3 different rings, and you keep your top the same. Now you see how the game is played. You change the strength of the outer field and you keep yourself a protection, at the same time you are in the flight zone. This is a very advanced, very, very advanced level. The only problem with this is directional flow. But it's a part of the creating a constant environment for the inhabitants in the system. You separate the habitation from the motion. But Mike hasn't understood that level. He's too fresh, but he's brought a breakthrough, and that's why I said to him, it's genius what he's done. As I always say, you go a step further, you open it, and I explain it. Till you don't get to it, you don't see it. All of you looked at the 3 cores rotating. Mike is the first one who's broken through to the ring condition, centrifuging themselves in the center with the 3 rings on the top, which you put a ball in. This will give you 3-layer enforced gravitational magnetic field in the center of the pyramid. And total isolation, there is no leakage possibilities. And if there is a leakage, one of the cores fails, the other 2 don't. So you still protect your inhabitants, you're still protecting the system. This is why in some of the starships you see a flat top. On the flat top there is such a system sitting in conjunction with the 3 cores outside, or a ring cores around. You don't see a spooky pinpoint pyramid in none of the space reactors you ever, spaceships you ever seen. The top layer carries such a condition. And Mike brought it out, and now we explain it more than you understand. He has to change, you don't necessarily need the tubes, but he has the tubes. You create the rings exactly like the layers in the sun. And the middle center will create its own free plasma, and the top core ring will position it where it needs to be.
Hi, Mr. Keshe.
Yes. Who's speaking?
This is Mike.
Hi, Mike. Good morning.
Thank you for the kind words.
You touched something. You see, here we are not proud and we don't hide on this, what do you call it, go and develop behind. You bring the knowledge on the table and it's to your credit.
Well, thank you.
You understood, you got to expand the knowledge further.
The picture that's on the screen, you see the magnets, that's the Searle effect generator. That's the inspiration for me using the neodymium and the copper oxide. I've expanded that a little bit further, and I think it made it a lot cheaper. If you can pull up and
Mike, can you explain to Mr. Keshe what the Searle effect generator is? Many people may know about that, but then there's lots of folks that don't as well. So.
all right, the John Searle invented the Searle effect generator using a specific way of taking neodymium, which is in the center ring, the black. Then you have white, which is porcelain, as a dielectric, and then you've got another ring and copper. Okay, the outer magnets, the rollers, are not actually touching the surface of the copper because of the neodymium, and they're just kind of hovering there, held in place by the magnetic fields. When you start one of these magnets, the magnets will all start moving on their own, and they won't stop until you disconnect the circuit. And he has figured out how to collect the electrons that are being pulled in by the neodymium from the positively charged ions in the air, are being sucked into the middle. They're being converted to negative ions and shot out as electrons out to the outer edge where they're collected. Okay?
Listening.
Did I lose everybody?
And then you had your idea was to use nanomaterials to replace the magnets. Is that
Yes. I was
use the
using,
GANs?
I made neodymium GANs and nickel plating because it's the only way it would stick together. But I made the GANs for it to replace all of the neodymium, which includes the outer ring magnets, the roller magnets. And I used the plastic tubing as the dielectric. All of the tubing and the plastic inside my reactor is all nano-coated. And I used copper oxide in the center ring to take the place of the copper, obviously.
Yeah, I've seen. If you go back, the original test of this, the original, you call it zero, but originally this was done in 1975 by American Navy, by the Marines. This is
I
not
believe that
something.
John Searles was back in the 60s, but I don't know for sure what all's going on with it.
Yeah, but
that was
the
my
American,
inspiration.
yeah, the American Navy shown what they call the hovering unit. They call it magnetic and gravitational unit. The pictures of it are somewhere I've seen it. I've been shown by the military guys. I think you can find it on the internet nowadays too. The condition with this is not just producing the electron, but it creates certain amount of hovering, levitation. And that's what they thought they can levitate. They can use this as a lift system. And because they couldn't achieve certain height, beyond certain height, it failed. Iranian scientists in east of Tehran, in the west of Tehran, has done something a step further. He understood it slightly better. But in this condition, the limitation is in the matter state used. Where you use the GANs, you don't have the limitation.
All right,
And
so if you don't have the GANs present, then you... all right.
If you have a GANs present, GANs is a dynamic, plasmatic, so you don't have the physical limitation of the copper magnetic gravitational field in respect to Earth.
Okay.
And that's why your system will work in a correct way.
Do you see the one that says Magrav rings and then inspiration dynamic reactor halo edition?
Yes.
Blue and purple and pink.
Yes.
Those are the pretty colors of my wife, because that's what I had left. So I've expanded a lot further from last week, I guess. Come to a lot better understanding of how the Magravs work in conjunction with each other. This particular setup, I have tried to recreate the brain, I guess, with the right side and the left side. On reactor A, I've got my electron collector, my neodymium John Searle reactors on that side. I've got neodymium, copper oxide, and neodymium in reactor A. And then reactor B, I've got CO2. I have gold GaNs, silver GaNs, copper oxide GaNs, and iron GaNs. And then the third ring is, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I have a speculation. In one of my copper GaNs, I have a black GaNs that floated to the top. And it's pretty thick. It's not just like a tiny layer. It's about a quarter of an inch thick. And I was able to get some of that off the top by itself, and I put that in the third reactor on reactor B. Now, the center, Rick, if you can pull up the other picture with the top of the cup lid. This is made out of an old plastic lid of the cups that have the hard plastic straws that you can get at any store. They're like insulated plastic cups. And I have the lid for one of those. It's got the straw opening. And then I've got a drain stopper, which is like $1.88 at Walmart. And it fits perfectly together, and it creates a seal. But I can also put 3 rings in there. And because this hole is in the center on the plastic lid, the drain plug will actually create the center reactor. And so now I have 6 or 7 dynamic reactors in there until I put them together. And then I don't know how many are. I haven't drawn out all the Magrav fields. The container that's in the middle contains a little bit of all of the GaNs that's in the tubes. And also, I put some of my DNA in there. I heard somewhere that when you spin it with copper oxide, it turns kind of a creamy white and resembles brain matter. So it got me thinking, well, since you have the quantum entanglement of the blood, which was brought up earlier, I now have a physical connection to my device as it's creating, or as it's spinning. When it finally does create and turns that milky white, it'll interact with my DNA, and I will be able to control this device with my mind. Now, anybody can build this, and anybody could control their own vehicles or their own devices. That's my theory.
You are very much in line with what we've been doing here past few days. Very much on the same line of work and thinking, but here we have access to electronics in a different way. As I say before, and I always put a red flag up, is understand when you do such an action of mixing your own DNA or your blood, you will take the conditions of dictated plasma, because you get connected to it.
Right. So I would be able to sense that then? Sense the elements that I've created?
Yes, at the same time it can interact and interfere with the rest of your body too.
Okay. Now,
These kind of things.
if I was to add additional DNA to that, does that mean I get to interact with, let's say it's my wife's DNA? Is that
Yes, but on the other hand, it can interact with the organs of your body too. This is extremely dangerous game.
okay? So don't mix
I advise you, do not enter, do not play with this kind of mixing human body parts or blood to any kind of your systems. I strongly
Okay.
advise you, because I have been involved in this kind of close encounters of plasmatic magnetic field and gravitational field, and most of you know I suffered for suspected pancreas and liver cancer. These do not, under no circumstances, still it's been more we do in the what I call the institute. We can instigate and we can investigate more of these conditions. I prefer to have a frog blood in there to see what happens to the frog than to you.
Okay.
You understand? Because we have seen the interaction of the GANs with change of the structure of the plants and how they change the structure. Now you connect yourself, what would you like? The position of the copper oxide in your liver or in your kidneys or wherever it might happen, or vice versa. Please.
So it'll attract those elements to my body in certain areas?
We do not know. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen to you if you do it, but I prefer not to.
I won't do it. I'm just, okay. I've heeded the warning.
The warning is do not mix any of your, do not mix any kind of protein or any DNA with these kind of dynamic structures still understood fully in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. Dispose of it, get rid of it somehow, whatever. And as I always say, do not, I know a lot of people, I know somebody approached us, are people monitoring your Facebook and other things. We know a guy who was on what we call on our blacklist, has been trying to smart talk you to something, and you've been warned about it, I think, by the guys on the Keshe Foundation. Yes, we are monitoring everybody who's close or come close to us for their security. And that's why we are very adamant to tell you. Even the Italian community has been approached for these things. They try to trap you in a condition, and then you think they're scientists, but these are, it's a panel of them. They sit and lay out a question, how they're going to ask you the question, that they sweet talk themselves into talking to you. And then they become noose around your neck. So for that reason, I explained to you, you've been warned by our people, you know exactly how, to be careful with these people. And our advice to you is, please do not eat or drink or whatever with these things or mix them in reactor cores. Until we know, until we can give you data from the scientific point of view. This is very crucial. We have yesterday approached a number of laboratories here in Italy that they start investigating the what you call the proteins and the vegetables and the whatever we produce here, that we can assess and put on the table what it is and how you can consume it, if it's consumable, and what it's going to do. This is part of the job of the institute. This institute will become one of the biggest scientific organizations in plasma technology in the coming months and years.
Well, I would like to be a part of that team if possible, sir.
If you want to join, you can enroll by the next few days. The email will be, the link will be out. You can apply for a place and join us with all. As I said, you don't need any qualification. If you can live in Italy for a year or 2 years or whatever, and you can get your visa to come in as a student, which should be no problem. You'll be invited by university. Then
My wife's ready to get rid of me for a year, I think.
I know Armen is in that same position, but he bought. You know, you play Monopoly. It says the jail free card. You put it on the table. You're free for to go. I think you can
Yes.
have it for 1 year
Get out
jail,
of
a free
the
jail
get out
card.
of jail free card.
Yeah, it's good for about a week though before they want you back. So
Ah,
they think they
Okay,
want you
so
gone for a year, but they really want you just gone for a week, I think.
they don't want you for a year. They want you for an air, just a few minutes, and then they miss you.
Yes.
yes.
It's just part of our habit as human beings. But
Now, if I take GANs from all of the other reactors again and I compile it, leave out my blood, and leave it in the center, that'll make the 7th
you got
reactor.
to see. You see, you have with 3 or 4 things you have go on a percentage, ratio, combination, matter, and material combination, and the gas combination, and a position. You have hundreds of possibilities.
Okay.
Hundreds of possibilities. As I always say, you know, a lottery has 49 numbers, and you're allowed to choose 7 of them, and the 49 numbers gives you 14 million combination. Yeah? So,
Yes, sir. All right.
so you understand.
Yeah. Well, I like.
Realized my voice wasn't on the live stream there. It was just on this Skype call. Okay, well, so much for expounding on that. Basically,
Let me explain to you something while you're there, Rick.
okay.
We are waiting for collaboration with the government, which we are working, that they will release certain material to us. Once and if we get this material released as part of our agreement that we collaborated purely to receive this material, then you will understand, you will be in a position to create gravitational magnetic field of any element in the universe. I'm hoping that we'll receive the collaboration the way we collaborated with them. Then doesn't matter what you have, if you have copper oxide GaNs or you have a CO2 GaNs, these all become irrelevant. This is a special element. I have yearned and looked to be able to get it as a mass from the government once our collaboration is completed. Then you have the base to make anything. It's a base door. Then you can put it in the first ring. It gives you on the specific current and pressure, plasmatic current that is, let's say behavior of a copper. You put it in the inner ring of your set, and it gives you the behavior of plutonium GaNs on a different pressure and a current, plasmatic current flow. And this is actually one of the ways that the materials are created in the universe. Plasmatic, gravitational current flow of the plasma dictates how the matter appears itself on that strength. So the same material can become gold as much as it can become carbon, depending on what pressure it is there. And we're talking about gravitational magnetic field pressure as a Magrav, and not as a magnetic field pressure, which is totally different.
Is
Then even with your copper or your tubes you have with CO2, if you apply, be able to apply, we are doing it here in the tests which are going on in Italy now. If you apply a current flow, or if you apply a pressure flow, not a gas pressure, but as a magnetic field pressure, you should see your material, the color of the tubes will change from one to another. So once the color changes, it means that the property has changed from one material to the. This is how you, with a base material, you can produce all the materials you need in the universe.
Mr. Keshe, you mentioned changing the magnetic field pressure a few times. You just sort of dropped that in, and now you mentioned that it's not done through the atmospheric pressure or the gas pressure. So how is it done? No, I didn't catch him. Darn. Like I can imagine, for example, we know, for example,
with your mind.
We do have clues as far as, well, we have clues as far as the rotation speed of the apparatus may increase the gravitational pressure inside. We have other concepts.
I give you a hint.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a traffic jam?
A traffic jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a crowd that they're pushing from the back and you're stuck in the middle and you feel the pressure, you can't go forward or back? And you've been to the concert, huh? Where you stand up and the pressure comes from the back, and you cannot do anything, you go flat against the guy in front of you and push on.
Right, of course. Okay.
You've got the hint.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can see once you have created a plasma inside the reactor, then it's a matter of working with that to create the pressure zones inside and so on.
But you can you increase the pressure by creating a stronger field in the environment, and then internally the pressure increases. What you actually do, let's try to understand things. Just don't walk and it's done. You are dealing with a dough, with a flexible gel. If you create an environment on the other sides of your, let's say, center tube, which are weaker or stronger than the center, you will change the Coulomb's barrier, and then you can get more in. You understand? And this is the way magnetic gravitational pressures are built. You don't build it by cramming it in the way you are used to, or tightening the space. Gravitational magnetic field pressure is made by reducing or increasing the what do you call it, your atmospheric level. It's a totally different way of thinking. This is a totally different way of working.
Well, when you say atmospheric, you don't mean like atmospheric gas pressure. You mean
no. I'm talking about
the ambient field around.
No. I'm talking about the thickness of the, let's say, upper atmosphere and the surface of the planet. This is your Coulomb's barrier.
Right.
And then the more you can get in, by reducing the atmosphere the thickness, the more gases you can get in. Now, when you release it, they create a field and transfer of field from one to another. And then you build up the pressure. Magnetic gravitational field comes internally, but is created by the Magrav field force. The pressure, if you're pushing outwards, you increase the magnetical, and then you change the gravitational field, the strength of the center. You have one size, but now you build the pressure, and that allows the the magnetical field flow between the ganses. And then as you increase the flow, the traffic jam of the space between the ganses becomes so narrow that the fields have nothing but to leak out. And that's what you pick up. This is what the magnetic gravitational pressure is. You don't consider it as a physical pressure. Is that because you reduce or you tighten the number of the space between the matter level of the fields, so the fields have to escape. So and that escape becomes added to the others, and they change and they accept in, or they leak out and they increase the field in the center gravitational point. And this takes no time to do. It's instantaneous. It's very much the way you have a...
It's instantaneous. What about the idea of building up the fields over time in the GANs reactors and that sort of thing? Is that that's a different concept?
Yes, okay. It's totally. And as I said to Armen and Marco once, you cannot escape. You cannot wait for the reactor to build up the way we are doing in SS1, SS2, huh? If somebody or something you want to escape, huh? These
right, exactly. And well, you mentioned the radioactive type reactor, the earlier style gas-based reactors, which were more instantaneous in their response and so on. And that we have to find a way to do that with the GANs, or do we move to another step?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Very much. Very much. One of the rapid expansion and contraction is, sooner or later, we will be allowed, there is no option, of adding nuclear material into the process. This is one of the fastest ways to increase the pressure.
I've noticed just in the last couple of days, there's a few things that have come out in the physics press about nuclear items. There's a new nuclear battery that's just been developed, and it uses I think plutonium, and but it's completely safe, and you know they say that it's even better than solar energy, be cheaper than solar energy, and may start revolutionizing the market and so on. So there is a push toward that. They're not afraid to use that N-word, nuclear, at this moment, it seems, all of a sudden. So I'm suspecting that there'll be a push toward alternative energy sources in the next while.
Yeah, there's an Iranian nuclear physicist who used to be part of Iranian nuclear program during the Shah. He's in Brazil now. I think his name is Dr. Professor Safidvash, if I remember correctly. And they have developed, he used to be part of the IAEA panel of inspectors. They have developed a mass nuclear reactor type things. It's on his site and his papers. There are different ways. They're trying to, because of the shortage of energy, they're trying to sweeten the pill of the nuclear now. We see it. We have no choice. It is made dangerous when it comes to the governments when you want to blackmail them. But it's good when you want to sell and create jobs and money financing in.
Yeah, in this in this case, it was the University of Missouri in the U.S., and they're just, the headlines is long-lasting water-based nuclear battery developed, and how it uses, actually it uses strontium-90 and titanium dioxide, once again one of our common oxides,
Yeah, but you got to
as an
understand.
electrode.
Yeah, because part of the problem with this is the strontium-90 becomes strontium-94, and then it becomes one of the nooses around the neck of the plutonium. In the long run, put it this way, if you go into the nuclear technology, one of the biggest problems at the moment in Fukushima is the strontium-94. It's got a specific characteristics, and when it's, as you know, as we disclosed in the Fukushima paper, reactor 1 of Fukushima had plutonium in it. When a strontium changes into strontium-94 in conjunction with plutonium, especially in the presence of water, is a lethal weapon. And when you become a strontium-94, you have a beta decay, and then the beta decay leads to a lot of problem in that category, especially for physical touch. The story is very good till it comes to inspection and development, and if these things leaks, because when you have the presence of plutonium or conversion at the uranium-235, 238 in any level, then you're playing. It's very good. It makes a very nice paper, but from the nuclear point of view and safety, one of the battles now we have in Fukushima is the interaction of strontium and plutonium, which appeared in the reactor. This is a horrendous condition, and this strontium-94 is. I'm just going to check something and I'll tell you. It is a. It is not a very. What do you call it? Especially if it comes across and develops cesium, then you have a different dilemma. Leads to a lot of cancers.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like such a great idea.
No, it makes a good.
There was something else that I had brought up on the screen several times here earlier. I'd like to run by you quickly. I know we're probably starting to get short on time here. You wanted to leave a bit early. How are you doing with time? Are we good for?
Oh, we are okay. We have all the
minutes?
time in the world. We have all the time in the world. The teaching has no problem with that. Just 1 second. I'm just trying to bring something up that you can read it. I'm getting used to how to use computers, which is dangerous.
We'll get you trained in a few years here.
Yeah, I'll be trained very well for it. Don't worry. Yeah, one of the problem is the strontium. What do you call it? 94 and strontium, especially 90, have a huge problem when they come in interaction with what do you call it? With plutonium. You see, you read it correct, and I don't warn you. But if it is there, but it's still a strontium 90 has a conversion rate, and a conversion rate in a beta negative. It's one of the headaches at the moment in Fukushima. Because if you get a conversion, then you have a problem. It's one of the biggest nightmares of nuclear industry.
Maybe you can use the Keshe cleanup technology to clean up the new nuclear-based battery when they come out with that. It'll just be yet another thing to be used.
You have your nano layers, and I explained to you how heat is converted in the center of the planet this morning. You should have no worries about things.
We don't need the nuclear. But here's something that I wanted to show.
Let me expand a little bit of this that you will understand. Maybe we can add a slide. As people who are around the foundation and you're doing all these works, look at the condition that your core becomes a power supply, and you can create transistors, or what you call like transistors or capacitors, in a nano or in a GaN state, that the energy from the center is continuously available to your system, which this puts all the wirings aside. So you have a sun and you have all your electronic components around in a position, in a way your platform becomes a space than the what do you call it, the plates which you use now, and you attach everything to it. Your resistors, the work of them and how they operate and how they interact becomes a three-dimensional system. Then you see the power of the technology totally changes. Now take this back into the same in the use in the house. For example, you can put a central system that the system you have another system in your fridge which receives the energy directly at that point to be operating the fridge. You don't need no wires, you don't need any power supply. You make one central system. So your receivers become the point with one central system. Transmutation of energy will come through the fields of the reactor. There is no need for conversion. At one point you need 2.4 volt to run your mobile phone, and the other one you need 4 volts or 10 volts to run something else. Knowing that the plasma works in the DC level. These are what is to come. We start showing it in more and more time now that the university started. I'm hoping even the masters, the same as what we did in SSI when the student joined us, don't expect to be sitting behind a desk and learning theories. You lot who come in are well educated enough by around the foundation, the work of the plasma. Within the first weeks we put you into the labs, that you come up with your own intuition and what you want to do. So think in the direction of a central, in a way you put a system as a star, and then you put the planets around it, what you want from each planet to produce or to give you. This is the next step of non-dimensional, non-electric connection systems. Or you do your electrical connection at the point of the delivery of the plasma energy. This we are developing very rapidly in another point of it, and then I'll explain to you. Actually, the Armen and Marco are doing it without knowing it. So you will understand. That I've seen this battery, but put it this way, now change that logo of a nuclear to picture of a plasma. If you go back in one of the energy papers, which we released about 8-10 years ago, we showed these batteries with a single core inside it, and it's called the Keshe battery. I think I've shown it to Sohail when he was with us. The
I remember that.
Yeah, the structure is very simple. You can create. You don't even need to connect the battery to the wire connections. You take the energy from the plasma at the point of need. So, the now that we have achieved in opening the university, we will expand the knowledge in a very rapid way. In an extremely rapid way, even if it means for every knowledge seeker to be able to teach live on his experiments, failure or success or adding to knowledge, it'll be done so. We have the capability to limit the knowledge and in a way expand the technology to level of understanding of the student or the knowledge seeker. In a way, as we said, we need a parallel run. With people still do the plutonium, the platinum reactors or batteries, and we still have the nuclear power stations. We still have the oil-producing countries producing the oil for the energy, because the transition will take time. This is one of the questions like just you asked earlier on, why Iran put satellites and rockets. Iran is an oil-producing country, still needs a nuclear. At the same time, they do the plasma technology for energy. To change 80 million cars a year produced, and it's been produced for past 20-30 years, into using plasma technology tomorrow is impossibilities. So we still have to go through the phase of the conversion. One of the things which... Sorry, carry on.
Well, I wanted to bring up this picture that I've shown a few times on live stream in that respect, in that this picture to me, it was inspiring in that they have this device that is a fungi or sort of a mushroom growing device that uses plastic. You can feed it plastic, and the mushrooms will break down the plastic and use that as food for their growth. And it shows ways that you can take these mushrooms and make them into different flavors and different shapes and types and so on, and add herbs to them and make them taste good. And actually the last picture, it shows all these different makes them look like delicacies, and these are grown on plastic. So I'm thinking this could be a similar product that might come out in the Keshe Foundation in the next while. This is sort of opens up the idea that people could maybe use a GANs-based substance or something. I know we're not to be eating GANs and so on at this point, but there might be some product that comes out that is similar, that is able to break down plastics and make them into food in the very near future. And that might be something that's worked on in the Keshe University that's coming up and so on. And the reason that I think it's so great is that I've read that one of the greatest pollution problems in Africa, for example, is plastic bags. So I'm thinking if there was a process that could, in a clean way and an economical, very economical way, which this is apparently, make use of those bags, then basically we have a mobile food supply that people bring things home and food and other things, and then we eat the containers after that. It seems like we can eat them or use them for energy. So go ahead. That's it.
No. You say eating the bags. a few years ago, about maybe 15, 20 years ago, you can find it. And the scientists in Manchester University decided to find the energy value, or the how good is for you to eat cornflakes or eat the box of the cornflakes. And they did a test on the energy level. It ended up, if you would have eaten the box, you would have absorbed more energy than actually the cornflakes, the cornflakes itself.
That's
So
good. It probably tastes better too.
it is better too. So, um, you know, years ago, part of our operation was we were storing materials for one of the leading cornflakes manufacturers. And every few weeks, they used to come and take this thing, was orangish, blackish, yellowish color, about the liter bottle. We were holding hundreds of these. I don't know why it was kept there. Originally, I thought, these are why they've been here so long in the storage. And then one day I asked the driver, do you know why you'd come and take these one at a time? He said, one of these is enough for nearly a month or so production of cornflakes to be added, that at least there is something in it. Because the cornflakes doesn't carry anything, the way it's produced. So the additives were adding what they say, vitamin C and everything else to the cornflakes. And all these things are added as it's a gooey.
That's right. The first enriched flours that they sold back 100 years ago didn't sustain, or the first flours rather that they refined flours, processed flours, would not sustain life, so they had to throw in the vitamins, find out what vitamins were essential for life, so supposedly, and put them in so they could sort of support life with the bread. So it's a similar thing that way.
Yeah, but we got to understand what comes in and what we can use and what we can sustain life with. Doesn't matter how it comes. One of the major problems in the coming time, especially in the developing nations and what we call developed nations, which are actually less developed than the others ones who are developing in so many cases, is the misassumption that everything is available and it can be used. To make food and energy available to everyone at the level they need, it will take priority in the coming time. It will take more priority than actually jobs. As I say, you cannot march, an army marches on its stomach. A nation and the world population is the same. There is a, I have to choose my word very carefully regarding to speak about this. In a spaceship program, especially in deep space travels, eating is not a habit. Energies, as we spoke, are released continuously from the cores, and the body of the man absorbs what it needs from the energy soup of energies which are released to it. So you don't go to the table to eat food, because any energy you need for the cell of the, let's say, a heart or stomach or whatever, it takes from the environment and it's continuously is available in the environment. In a coming time, when we reach the point that the food becomes beyond the reach of every man to have, and to stop what we call the evolutionary revolutions of the nations, and immigrations for people trying to access food and water, the governments will have no choice but to employ and deploy systems in the gravitational magnetic field, very much in the internal structure of the spaceships. That by walking around and living, let's say, in the town, you receive the fields and energy which you need for daily consumption. So physical consumption of food becomes irrelevant. This is inevitable. We've seen it in other places. This becomes what we call central feeding stations, becomes one of the structures of the future of human race. There is no choice, because the planet cannot sustain and supply physical food, tangible food. As is done in the space programs, food, or what you call food, but the energy, as I've been trying and I've explained that 80% of the energy you need is absorbed through your skin from the environment. And these conversions for the hard food that you need to digest as a digestible food is done, can be done through the same system. So we do not become and depend on the physical food consumption. This is the only way that you can sustain life in a space. As I say, as the American use the terminology of leisure or leisure time, will become part of the serving the society, and this is what we told from the beginning of our teaching, to serve and not to be served. Because now, as you're becoming closer and closer and developing your technology and the level of the understanding of the system, the feeding point, you do not need to be poor. Even the rich people will go to get nourished from it. So you have, in a very much, in a way, you don't need kiosks to go in to be fed. You don't need to go to restaurants. Because of the psychological, economical pressures on governments, governments will make these what we call central feeding stations, like in the center squares or whatever, that as you walk through the square, you receive the food and nourishment you need. What you decide to have as a physical digestion, like a physical entity, will become irrelevant. And through it, it loses its value of the commercializing. And then some sanity will come into the reality, because when people do not need to eat, the things get fixed in the right way. As we've seen it with the oil. How come the oil of $130 a barrel suddenly can be sold at 40 and 50? What happened? As I said in the other talks. This is why I said to Mike, please do not consume or put your blood into the system. Because the gravitational magnetic field of the proteins at a given level, which is needed by the body, in addition to what you add from the plasma of the copper or copper oxide, can become as part of your body because it's connected to you, and then you actually create new cells. These things has to be done the correct way, at the levels that can be used and can be understood how to be used. The whole understanding is to create a balanced, peaceful environment, and the peace comes when the man is not hungry. Because we have shelved the religions. The religion we have done with the religions. You can still believe in a way of whatever you like in the path of the Creator. As we have people, you still go and pray to the statues. It has not changed the way of their belief in serving correct and be correct. So, in the coming time, it's a just matter of time when the economical pressure becomes so much that people cannot afford a kilo of meat, as I see at $40 and $50 or euros a kilo for whatever thing, or you see fish at about 30-40 euros, beyond people's means of eating. So the energies will be available. There is no choice. There is no choice but to feed the nations through the operation of work of the universe. Because the body of man is under the universe. All you do, you allow it to absorb more from its environment. Now we know the ways, we know the know-how, and the knowledge is within the reach of the people. The understanding is very simple. How you want to absorb energy is at the reach of the man. Nations like India, with such a high population, hunger was one of the biggest problems for the nation, for the government. A few hundred reactors in a given position, you don't need to refuel it because the gases will release their energy for hundreds of years, can feed the nation without the nation knowing. It's very much like you add fluoride to the water, you add specific energy balance into the environment that the body of the man can receive. Out of nowhere people are no hungry, and out of no hunger there is no anger, there is a balance, and you can create the conditions of the balance, emotional conditioning with the field of physicality. These are not dreams anymore, you have everything in your hand to achieve it. Understand the structure. You put in the physical copper oxide or CO2 and you achieve the free balance environment in the center. As a bubble you see it. That's the soul, that's the emotional part of the structure. That's the physical part. You feed the physical part according to the strength of the copper and CO2 and the rest, and you feed the emotional part with the fields from the center. You find peace. You have the two in your hand. There is no difference between your core with the hollow center you call it, and the brain of the man. This is one of the major breakthroughs. The whole structure will come out of understanding of what you do. You have everything in your hand to do, to even feed yourselves. You don't need to eat the gans. The energy of the gans within the environment you produce will feed your physicality. And the hollow sphere you call it, which is actually the center core, where the field of the gans are conditioned to the physical positioning, becomes the emotional feeder. So you find peace, you find balance. You got to go in the direction to understand the totality very rapidly. When you provide peace of mind, peace to the emotional side, you can achieve peace and non-violent reactions because the physicality receives everything it needs in the behavior of the man. World peace will not come by signing a paper. World peace comes when, through the technology developed, we bring balance with the emotional and physical part. And you have all the tools to do it. You made the cores, you made the reactors, you made the gans, you release the energy. At the same time, in releasing the energy, the condition and the position and the shape of the gans of CO2 in your cores is dictated by the field force in the middle, which is exactly like your emotional part. So you see, the emotion dictates the position of the physicality, how thin and how it spreads across the ball, as you've seen it. That spread is the physicality of the man. And the dimension in the center, the ball, is the essence of the creation. All the same, has no color, has no shape, and is all the same in strength and in contact. when you add your blood, you add the connection to the center core. We were discussing this yesterday with the scientists. In adding and positioning blood and a line of communication and transfer of energy and eradication of diseases. These are not theories. The electronic system to achieve this is on the table. It's already been built. The scientists have worked all night and for weeks to produce them. And we don't have one unit. Apparently it's about, they managed to manufacture 2,000-3,000 of them now. So it means we can test on a huge number of people, on a huge number of materials, and a huge number of entities at the same time. We can put as a frog or different frogs in the testing lab and allow them to be taught, to be fed through their own blood system. And you can have 10 to 20 of them in the same pool. Each one receives his own energy because it's connected to its own field strength. As I told you, the development of technology is so rapid that it becomes horrendous in what can be absorbed and what can be put through. And the total cost is less than $50. This is one of the tests and the spin-offs which will go into work in the coming days, because I've seen it. The scientists don't understand fully what they have developed, but as somebody who sits outside knows a little bit more, I can see where it goes and how it goes. You don't need to be in India for us to feed you from Brussels.
So, Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
I see the question on live stream about adding your own urine, but your urine contains the same information that your blood does it not?
Yep. You're in the same shit, as we say. You cannot move. Do not change anything. Do not test anything. So we actually physically deliver it to you. What we've done in the past few days here, all the tests will be certified by international laboratories. We just don't say it. We have linked up with a very well-known international laboratory. I was with them yesterday. They will issue certificates, European certificates for everything which we release as any capability and capacity. If it's good, what it's good for, what it's changed, what it does. Water purification with a certificate. What it does, in what ratio it was used, and what it can do. The breakthrough is there. It's not that we are afraid to use it. It is to understand what are the consequences of it. If you want to play a kamikaze game, it is your problem. It's like the guy who goes up a snow cliff at 90 degrees with no, with no ropes. He will reach the top, but if one piece of ice is loose, is goodbye. As I said, this technology will employ more people, more scientists, than actually putting the whole oil and computer industry together.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is Kayvan. You've been talking. Can I ask you just this? You mentioned in the very beginning, I think it was a couple of years ago, even that Iran created 3.5 million seats in the universities. They had obviously have had the wisdom, to foresee, the future. Once the university structures are created in Italy, is there any plans to, because we talked about exchanging knowledge and to open up the university structures in Iran with the university structures with Italy to share knowledge? because they must be, the students over there must be so advanced in their specific fields and interacting and exchanging knowledge and science.
It's
You want to
true.
comment?
I just interject that Iran
Let
just
me
became 7th in the world in nanotechnology recently, from 8th in the world. They're
Yeah.
rapidly
How much?
rising.
let me tell you something. If you have traveled the extent I have traveled in my lifetime, I've been to nearly over 70 different countries in the process of my business and life. You'll find out geniuses are in every race and color and nationality. You'll find geniuses in Africa more than you find them in Asia. Is not that we teach only in Italy. This is the first step in the spread of the knowledge. We have, through the university which we announced and through the organization they have acquired, will be able to teach in every country immediately. This is something we don't announce. We in time will open it, that through the programs which is bought by the university which we have joined, you will understand in the coming days when the video of the university is released, it goes on the university and Keshe Foundation SSI spaceship program. We do not become part, do not become a, what do you call it, we become part of a structure which is already in the process of international development, that it can reach every nation. So Iran, Africans, Chinese, and the rest will become automatically, by signing the contract, as part of the same structure. We talked about this last night in our negotiations. So, as you know, I have what do you call it, a total view of what is to happen, sitting in the position we are and the information which come to us. We are not looking to just teach Iranians or the Chinese or the Americans. The teaching, even in the teaching room, in the boardroom, of the teaching will be instantaneous across the world to those who want to receive it. This will be done by in next 6 months, 12 months. The structure is set that way. And as I said, we have joined with one of the, what do you call it, organizations which as a university carries the access to a lot of things we should have taken the foundation years to reach. We already have a link, strong link with the Iranian scientific world. We have a strong link with Africans, and we do with others. All it is for them to allow the technology to be opened up to their nations. As you know, for quite a long time you could not see the Keshe Foundation on the internet in Tehran, in Iran. It was partially, it was explained to me when I was in Tehran, this is what the government has decided, so I accepted. And even though we have a lot of Iranians in Iran, through proxy servers, reach the foundation. We have a huge support in Australia. It's massive. Does it mean that they all have to come to Italy to study? No. In the coming weeks and months, let us change the situation in teaching, for us to learn a little bit, see what the facilities are available in different directions. Then we open the knowledge to every university around the world. They can link and they can teach. The new video which is made by the university teaching group, I thank them very much, with Vince and Wolf and others in the team, has an Italian subtitle on it. And in the structure of the university, the system is already available for multi-translation immediately, instantaneously. Which means all the teachings can be translated into different languages while you're teaching. There's a lot happening. It's not just opening institute. We are very privileged, and in a way, thanks to the support of the core peace team, things are falling on our lap beyond the acceptance of the foundation's imagination. But they are there. They just put it on table. This is what we are giving you. This is what you have more. This is what we just, through our connection and our success, they are succeeding to be able to provide more systems to the foundation. Even they are surprised how things are coming in their way. And I say nothing, I just say that's nice. So we can give you this, we just acquired it this week. We don't know how we got it, but it's come to us and we've taken it. The administration and running of the university is not in the hand of the foundation. And the expansion of the teaching is in the hand of the university, and they have made facilities to be done internationally. But we still need scientists at this institute to be hands-on, and these people become the teachers which will go back to their nations to teach. So the first masters, the first 50, 100 and the first groups of scientists, they become the seed. And when you are here, as Dr. Elias said, when you are here you learn totally different than internet. Here we look after you with love and care, and we teach you what it needs to be done where you cannot do on the internet for a few hours. In some time, in half an hour, in one day, you learn more than the whole knowledge of man in the whole time of the universe. Because the knowledge is given freely. It's what you take from it counts. And each one takes his own way, and they do a different way. And you teach the same. We are trying to set a structure on the fees that is a commercial activity we become part of. The lighting and the heating and the teachers have to be paid. And then at the same time, we have to allow new technology development. And it doesn't limit us to Iran or anywhere else, even though I have a very close connection emotionally and physically with Iran. But it does not limit us to 3.5, 4 million students in Iranian universities. There's a huge need in Africa. If we release the pictures of the universities in Africa, there's not even a chair in the lab, let alone the lab. How can you bring South University of Sierra Leone or Central University of, Freetown, which has hardly enough, glass tubes to do any biological test, to the level of the most 21st advanced technology of the plasma technology? Nothing. By teaching them how simple it is, how they can do it, doesn't need to be so sophisticated. And it'll be taught, if you have one computer, you can do it. One of the biggest problem with Africa at the moment, especially, as you know, we work with the South University of Sierra Leone. They don't have the power to be able to receive to turn on the laptops that they can see the teachings. With this method, you give them the power, the energy, that they can at least access the energy free and be able to put their computers on. Then we go to the next step. Then we allow them how to feed themselves, and we tell them what you fed while you do it. The priority doesn't sit in Tehran. Tehran is well rich enough, has deep root of science. As we say in Farsi, Honar nast Iranian ast bas, means art is in the hand of Iranian and soul. And then I said to them, the knowledge is in the hand, the knowledge of universe is in the hand of Iranian, and that's it. But you have to be generous to give it freely. And now Africa needs it more than anywhere else, even in India, in China. They don't have the power to put a laptop on that they can see, that we can teach them. As I said, when I gave lectures in Sierra Leone, they told me pre-hand, the first time I didn't understand why the students, when I gave the talk in the first lecture in the North University, The students were asleep on the table, and I explained this to you before. They said to me, don't worry, they asleep out of hunger because they cannot eat. So they come, they attend the lecture not to fail, but we allow them to sleep because this way at least they are there. If you can put a reactor that every student coming to university has enough energy and food, then he doesn't fall asleep on the table when you're giving a lecture. And is there to participate in the development of human race. These are the main targets, not nations like Iran who have the best scientists. They've done their work. Now they become the supporting leg for the rest. When I was in Tehran, they told me you got memorized by Iranian, you were influenced by their thoughts. You were brainwashed. But they didn't see the revolution and the change I've seen from a child till I was an adult. After going back after 33 years. In Tehran, we had to enter an exam to go to university because there were only about 80,000 seats in the university. So what happened, the brain of Iran were filtered around the world to go to universities and they never went back. Now in 20 years, there are 4 million seats in the universities alone. You try to build 4 million chairs, let alone the teachers. Iranians have achieved their success through hard work. The same with the Chinese, the same with the Indians and the rest. Now it's time to do it internationally, collectively, through a simple means, as we have done. We have done the energy, the food, and everything else, and Italy has become a cornerstone of releasing the energy and the technology freely with the support of what people would like to say, scientific data. Any question?
I do see a question from Ivan. Ivan, can you ask that question, please? I don't understand it. Ivan's not even in GoToMeeting, so I'll try to read the question as it's put, but I don't understand it. It is, do that, amen, if we make a GAN cell, we can collect the energy of the central ball coming out of the cell when we run it.
Pardon? Can you repeat it?
It's Bulgarian. We might have to get Elia to translate. Do that, Eman. If we make a GAN cell, we can collect the energy of the central ball coming out of the cell when we run it.
What he's saying is, does that mean if we make a GAN cell, we can collect the energy of the central ball coming out of the cell when we run it?
I must be tired.
Yes, we're all
One
tired.
key word there, yep.
I don't still understand. Translate.
He wrote that question a little while ago, and I think it was when you were talking about the nano layers and the.
What is he asking?
He's wondering about collecting energy out of the reactor ball when it's run with the nano coatings. But we've talked about this before, and that was a yes.
I wonder if we shouldn't get Ivan to discuss it in the next workshop.
Let me ask something else. We have 7 or 8 people on the Skype. We have a number of people on the background on the live stream and GoToMeeting.
102.
Okay. What do you think? What is your opinion? Let's go back to people. We've done enough teaching. Let's see other people think. Type it in or put it out.
Yes, well, my answer is yes, because the nano layers will absorb the plasma that's coming out of the free plasma that's coming out of the reactor. And depending on how that nano coating is done, depends on how much energy we'll get out of it due to the structure of the nano layers inside. Now, if you crush the nano layers and you don't provide the path for them to escape, then they do what you call this traffic jam and back up. And that will create heat in that material or that nano layers because of the plasma pressure that's not allowed to escape.
I think we got a guy called Armen somewhere. He can explain to you this. Armen, are you awake?
Armen, now's the time to turn your microphone on, not before. Hint, hint. Little dig there. In joke to the technical crew today.
I think Armen is still in American time. Or he's in the lab doing something. Because I explained this in a different way to Armen past couple of days. No, he's not there.
Mr. Keshe, sorry, just interruption. The way you explained the Oasis unit, which is well, at the prototype or the system you visualized is actually based still on the on the workings with the radioactive materials, but getting out all the energy, the water, the heat. You said it depends on the positioning of the nano-layered plates. As Vince also already explained it, the difference between the gaps and how is that one key to extract energy, as Ivan is asking this, or positioning of the plates.
What happened where you position and what composite material is made of is dictates what you absorb from the environment. If you don't see anything on your electronic system or any measurement, it means you are in a different, what do you call it, a strength. About 2 years ago, a year and a half ago in the Sonsano, the Italian nuclear physicist, a professor brought, and then they brought a military oscilloscope to see if they can measure and see the fields. And they got to nothing, and they got disappointed after time, and then they put the oscilloscopes away. This is what I was discussing yesterday and in the past few days here. We have to make oscilloscopes which measure gravitational magnetic fields, the spectrum, and not electrons and the frequencies of electrons. Then you can measure everything and you see what is coming out of your reactor, because your radar, or what you call your meters, are specific for electron vibration. In how you increase the frequency, how reduce the frequency, how you increase the amplitude. This is all to do with the matter state of the electrons. And this is where the problem is. All of you, the minute you rotate a GANS or even put a GANS and you can measure the field of a single GANS, you will find it radiates energy, it radiates gravitational magnetic field, because it shows its existence. If it wasn't there, even if it's not there that you cannot see it with your physical eye, but you can measure its field, then it gives or it takes from its environment. And it has to give that it can take. If you go back into your biology and whatever, you take a vitamin B or vitamin whatever. What does it mean? It means that element is giving more in that length, in that strength, but you don't see what it's taking from the environment too. Maybe it has the facility to take a stronger field and convert it and radiate it out as the length which to you is vitamin A. You got to understand all the possibilities and all the eventualities. It's not just what we've been put in understanding what we would like to understand. Yes, you see the picture of the lab in Africa. This is a South Sierra Leonean biochemistry lab. That's all they have. That's all they possess. Just 1 second, please. I'll come back on in a minute. Just 1 second. We have a delegation just walking in. I'll say hello to and I'll join you. Do you want to carry on, Vince or Armen?
Did Armen restart his computer yet?
I think he's still asleep.
I think
we can carry on for we can definitely carry on here for a couple of minutes. Sure. Well, I have something.
Like Mr. Keshe said about the feeding. You know, they have the sun is being fed from outside, and the sun is feeding all of our planets at the same time, and they're all GANs.
Right.
You know, I had an idea. When you set up the reactor systems with the dome, you can put a nanomaterial inside near the free plasma to get the energy out and transfer it to maybe a motor, but the motor would need to be rewound with nanowire instead of regular copper wire or insulated nanowire or something. So it would retain the whole plasma all the way to the motor drive. What do you guys think?
Maybe all you need is a plasma tube that connects your nano-coated motor to the, main plasma.
You can use. We discussed this with Armen. I wish you could wake Armen up. Where is he? If you can use nanotube even around the present motors, electric motors, you will find you absorb and release totally different kind of energy. The rotation of the system inside is it still is a matter level, but releases huge amount of energy into the environment, and I'm sure you will see a lot of changes, and you'll absorb a lot of energies, because it's important to realize and be able to measure it. I've seen pardon?
You mentioned that earlier about measuring it, and I've had up on the live stream something that again just came out a couple of days ago about how researchers at the University of Liverpool and the University of College London have found a new way to use a single molecule as a magnetic field sensor. So the idea is that they can use a molecule of, in this case it's, well, they show a picture of iron cyanine or whatever, but it's a particular molecule that they were working with, and they talk about creating a junction with these two metallic leads, and the molecules weakly coupled and so on. It's very suspect that they use nanomaterials in that junction as well, but a single molecule. So my question would be, my reason for bringing this up would be, is that what you're talking about, the level of the magnetic gravitational fields that need to be measured, or is this still nowhere in the ballpark of the kind of tools that are required to measure the magnetic gravitational, as opposed to just the general magnetic field of something? Or in this case, it's special because it is so small. It's not just a regular magnetic field and so on.
Okay, it goes back to the point of when you speak molecules, now you're already in composite. We have to go to the single atomic structure of the GANs of an element. Then we have a base. And then in the future, we'll measure everything according to the base. 10 times the base, 40 times the base, like let's say 40 times the base will be potassium. The base stays the atomic structure of the hydrogen. So you have to go back for this measurement to the atomic structure of the hydrogen for the single atom, because when you have molecules, and if you understand, they are doing the correct way, because the scientists in Liverpool, City College in London, they are measuring the gravitational magnetic field of a molecule which, because is in near raw state, it absorbs and reflects the radiation fields from the environment. So it's a very good tool. Good morning, Armen.
I couldn't.
So,
my microphone was jammed, so I just restart my computer.
Okay, Armen, just we'll come back to you in a minute. 1 second. The whole process is, this is what I said to you. We are looking for the work, close collaboration with the Japanese government. And one of the reasons that we done the research with the Japanese in regard to Fukushima, we are expecting to receive what we promised that we'll receive as part of the atomic hydrogen level we are looking for. Tritium is a triple bond proton neutron, and in the process, if you can achieve to access such a material, this becomes your base measurement. You need hydrogen which possesses both a proton, a neutron and an electron. Most of the hydrogen is a single proton or electron. We need a copy replication. That's why our collaboration with Japan is very, very crucial. We've been very open about what our demands are. We collaborated very openly, and even though partially classified. But what we are looking as a return is tritium has a single atom proton, a single proton and double neutron with electron. And once we can achieve a balance electron, proton and neutron hydrogen, this becomes the base. This is your target. This should be the target of all the research institutes around the world who work for new tools. And the hydrogen at this level stands to stand on its own as a GANS, because it's part of its property. You don't need to GANS it. It's already in the GANS state. Then, if you understand this, this becomes the basic common language in the universe. You need it. The international universal language, what you call it, that you can communicate, goes on a single atom hydrogen on the basis of the balance of one proton, one electron, and one neutron. Then you come in. This is the alphabet. This is how you translate languages in the universe from one language to another, according to the atomic structure. And that is in the GANS state because it's got gravitational magnetic field. And the tools in the coming time will allow you to make such a composite numbers and fields. So when you say, for example, I, you create a composite field to wherever the I sits in alphabet. This is I in my language. And the other one does not speak your language, but creates the field in his language where he sits in his. Then you understand this is I in the man from the Mars. So that's how you do your translation. This is what is known as a universal language, and I told you I'd teach you in time when you're ready, and it's just about the time to get ready. You cannot do it with a single hydrogen as we have, which is a one proton and one electron. Then you understand the frequency is irrelevant in the world of the universe. This is why I put so much emphasis in the work of the foundation with the Japanese government, and we put so much effort into it. In being able, and the same thing will go to the Iranian government for us. The technology within the Iranian nuclear technology allows us to access what we are looking for as a GaNs of hydrogen. The same thing goes with the Russian and American nuclear technology. That's the key. This, and when you have the GaNs of the hydrogen, not what you call hydrogen as a proton and electron, what we call in the GaNs state of the hydrogen, then you can create all sorts of materials from the radiation effects or the energy repulsion from the system. Why you need hydrogen in this form? Because it creates a gravitational magnetic field from an interaction of two, not single entity. And this gives a continuous balanced state in respect to the electron. Electron automatically becomes part of the structure of the nucleus in the GaNs state. The fundamental base, this is what, if you go back to my talks in past few weeks and months, I said the Japan with the Fukushima disaster will be one of the richest nations in the world. Because they have the key to the international universal fuel and language base. It was created totally, it's done now in other reactors around the world. But in the condition of reactor number 1 in Fukushima, due to presence of the high level of plutonium, they have created a specific condition. That the hydrogen from this structure is needed for the fuel production of the future for a space deep travel. Because as we saw with the rings of which Mike showed us, you fill in all with the same element. The compression, magnetic gravitational compression, and the current flow, which dictates each ring what we will have. And then it decides the point of destination in travel of the creation of the free plasma. Now you see the secret, you see the book unraveling, the story is getting filled up. So if you want a copper oxide in the outer ring strength, you create a pressurized condition in gravitational magnetic field which behaves the hydrogen as a copper. And immediately you can change it to anything you like. And that's why in the space technology, especially when you look at the deep space travels, or when you see the starships, or what you call the flying objects, they can suddenly rapidly increase their speed. The base is what we call the real atomic hydrogen, not the isotope hydrogen of lower level, which is a proton and electron. Then the gravitational magnetic field can be changed immediately, instantaneously. So you gain speed in the direction of the flow of the plasma where you do it. In the coming time, when the man opens the space, you'll find out starships, or what we call the starships, which you call it a spaceship. The starships are unique and they always travel in twinity. One is for support, secondly is for reduction of the positioning of reflection and pushing one to the other forward. The always twin starships, or what you call it, twin spaceships, always is essential into deep space travel. And most of the formations stays on 2, 4, 6, 8 and on. If you look at your star, what do you call it, the plates, your reactors, All the time you have interaction of 2 or 4. You create a field between the 2 and then you create a field between the 4. And this is how it's done in space. And this, to be able to achieve such a rapid change, all your reactors are fed and supplied with the, what you call the hydrogen, atomic hydrogen, which is 1 proton, 1 electron, and 1 neutron. And when you achieve this condition, usually if you create the way it's been done in Fukushima, you achieve GANs of hydrogen. And then when you have the base, you can cook whatever you like. The speed is constant, the speed is instantaneous. You go from the what we call principal strength to the matter strength and lower. So you have for the first time ability to go lower than the state of matter to see what happens there. So we become the creators and the gods, as you call it. It is very important to extend the knowledge the correct way. And as we said, now we have opened the lid, there is nothing hold back. You teach, and in time, a lot of you don't understand what has been said today. But in time, the next generation of the scientists and the people who come to the Institute will show you how these systems work. It's one of the biggest mistakes for the American government and the 5+1, pressurizing Iran to allow to release their nuclear technology. Because you're going to need it in the structure we have in the Iranian nuclear technology to produce such atomic hydrogens for the future of the space and energy supply in the world. I have warned Americans, leave the Iranian space nuclear technology intact because this is your future. The atomic centrifuge in Iran and the way it's been operated allows you access to the hydrogen the way we do it, the way it's needed for space. Iran will change from an oil industry based technology to the fusion and what you call to the space fuel, where the Japanese by accident have already reached the level. You got to understand what is the fuel. You have the base. Now you can mix what you like. Armen, you want to talk?
Yeah, sure. Nothing is an accident, Mr. Keshe.
Not even you and me.
Uh-huh. So what was the question?
The question, it wasn't a question, I was discussing about what I explained to you to connect the nano layers for energy extraction.
Yes.
If you can expand on that.
On the dome, I made 2 holes, and there was an electrode. I will make a picture and I will send it to you actually. But it's an electrode like in a dome. That inside is nano-coated, and outside that you can connect to a battery source to charge. Any extra, what the dome will have, it go to the charging unit. We can collect the energy actually. Because 1 electrode is going to be on a dome and 1 electrode is going to be the bottom plate. And then we can see how much energy we can store. So actually I have a bottom plate, already shown the video. That you can see was the construction inside.
Can we have that video, Rick? Do you have it?
Rick, I think it was the second one that you were showing. Yep, the one with the black bottom plate. The second video you showed in this workshop. Oh, sorry.
I posted YouTube.
Oh, it's the YouTube video. That's correct. Do you need that, Rick?
If you
There's a
look
link.
at the workshop number 47, is the front page of it. It's the opening.
Yeah,
Workshop.
if you look on live stream, right down below,
Number
that's
47.
the top of it, right? Or is that the bottom? We'll be able to see clear Mr. Keshe on the video from YouTube when Rick gets it on.
Do I need to reload or
during the
do I
live.
stay?
Well, your live stream should be working. You might have to reload, yes, to make sure.
Yeah, I've had to reload a couple times tonight.
Yeah, people have said there's something. I wouldn't doubt. I had way too many windows on my computer, so anyway, I'm trying to get rid of something.
Rick, while we're at this, something which came to my mind I wanted to ask. What is the position with the Chinese Keshe Foundation regarding the ants? Are we going to see them, or is there any arrangement for that for the next workshop on Tuesday?
We certainly can. That would be. That was one of the things
Rick,
that I wanted to show.
That's Sohail?
Pardon me?
Wasn't that Sohail?
Sohail? Yeah. He's.
Sohail, yeah. Sohail and Evans?
Right, yeah. They're. I think they want to present that in the Chinese workshop, so far as I know.
Yeah, but do we have the Chinese scientists who can explain to us how they're using the GANs?
We have actually. There's a question from Yan, which is the Chinese scientist fellow. He sent a PDF here with a couple of questions on it, or I don't know if they're questions. There is one question, which is about if we want to mail the GANs treated seeds, what should we do with the packaging and shipping? But he just showed a couple of pictures, and I'm not clear whether these are supposed to be talked about by him. Is he on the GoToMeeting, Vince, or no? That's Yan from China.
Don't see anybody by that name on GoToMeeting now.
So he's probably just left the question, which we could address in the Chinese workshop.
Yeah, well,
perhaps.
But we need
probably a good idea.
I'm still waiting for the picture, but if you can see the ant test and have the scientists to explain to us for the Chinese program next week.
Yes, definitely.
It's from the China manufacturing place, Mr. Keshe, from Evans and Sohail.
Yeah, that was the ant test. Was with the manufacturers in China. Whereas the other tests were with Yan, the Chinese scientist or agriculture person.
Do we have any more feedback from the Chinese agriculture group from the seed test?
Well, there's just there was something here. He says this is the picture that I got, which is it says figure 1, the strawberry seeds sowed on December 14th, 2014. They were treated with CO2 GANs, but didn't do anything for dormancy. To now, up to 50 days, they didn't germinate at all, it says. And then you go down to the next picture, and there's strawberry seeds soaked with CO2 GANs before or after cold treatment. Now they begin to germinate after 15 days, January 21st. The temperature set to 23 degrees Celsius. Then the question...
You said cold treatment? Was that cold, Rick?
Cool.
It said before or after cold treatment. Now they begin to germinate. So they got cold, I guess, and then...
No. Let me explain to this. I don't know if it applies to strawberries, but seeds like cauliflower. If you want a good harvest of cauliflower, the seed has to be at least 30 days at 0 minus temperature.
Okay.
Somehow these seeds, I don't know if it applies to strawberry. Maybe it does. That's what it means. The cauliflower.
Yeah, just like you plant them in the fall so that they sprout
I
throughout
mean,
the ground.
yeah, but the cauliflower seeds you buy in the packages, they've been treated with 30 days in the frost. They put them in the deep freezer for 30 days for a better harvest. It does something internally according to the chemical binding and the growth. Maybe strawberries. That's one. Let's discuss this one in the Chinese section on Tuesday if we can keep it there.
Yes,
But,
definitely. We're getting on here now. That
yeah,
about
can
3.5 hours,
we
so
go
wrap
back
it up.
to Armen's? Can we go back to
Right.
the Armen's picture?
Okay.
Please?
So, okay, just bring that up now, and
Okay, Armen, can you enlighten us, please?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I had difficulties to put the course because the screws were sitting higher on a plate. So I cut the screws and made it flat, so now it perfectly sits on it. And one thing I'm not sure about the ring, still it's not nano-coated perfect. I tried so many ways to do that, but I couldn't get good results. You know, the dome, actually it's more black, and there are a few spots it's left, which I'm doing very slowly, the process that I can get homogeneous, nano-coated inside. But this part I am a little bit worried about it because still it's not perfect. I know it's nano-coated, but it's not that black. So which will, in my opinion, draw some attention when the plasma will create on the top.
It's nice.
It's nice.
is there a way to spot coat that nano part that's not as nano-coated as you like?
Yes, because I just, glued it because the welder, he didn't weld it properly. He did it from a part.
This dome has been a nightmare for Armen. If you see the top of the dome, it looks like a crushed face. This happened when I was trying to.
It's like a smiley face that got punched.
What happened? we tried to push this thing through, that it seals itself or gets attached, and it didn't work. At the same time, it was a dome. It collapsed in. So then we had to hammer it from the back to make it a dome. That's why it looks funny.
So it's a handprint.
Yeah.
It's it's a hammer print.
Actually, we printed together, Mr. Keshe, so we have to make it work.
Well, there's a technique of hammered copper, so that makes sense.
This is unique, truly. Anyway.
The whole thing is very nice. I mean, but it's coated. You don't need to worry about it. I mean, we'll see in the next couple of days when we are back in Descansano. But I think the copper you see is already nano-coated, at least by a few layers. We only see nano-coating after 5 or 10,000 layers. So there's no problem. I'm pretty sure it's nano-coated. But there is one thing here, is that if you look at the motors, none of them are coated. So we're leaving the plasma transfer to be in a matter state from the GANs. The dome, the top dome, has the same kind of structure, and it will sit around in a ring formation. But have you managed to make the electrodes for draining the energy from the plates?
Yes.
Do you want to explain there what happened?
I don't have a picture to show it, but it's proper. Very nice. I will take a picture today and post it in my Facebook so everybody can follow up.
I think if you already connected the motors.
No, I just a test. It's not properly connected yet.
Okay, if the motors are not properly connected, do a small thing. You have a power supply sitting on the table. Connect the two plates, the plates, or two connections from the power supply to your plates in a very low current that you should be able to create a nano layers through electric current. You don't need a caustic. Or put the electrodes on the where you see pure copper.
Yes.
On the dome, and apply a very low voltage and current, the way you done before. You remember when I stopped you doing it?
Yes.
In the lab to make a GANs. This way you create a nano layer, but don't last it too long. Then you should see, I hope, production of nano layer.
Okay.
If it is anything there.
Sure.
What has happened in this structure? That's why I asked Armen to show. Is that we connect the in the SSI1 you see there's a film, and in this SSI2 which Armen's putting together, there are holes made with the screws for the legs, or that we try to drain power from the dome and the base. That way we allow and we encourage the flux to pass through the wall to the wall as well, which means the magnetic gravitational field will be given directional flow, which as they come, they will not go back into the motors to stop the motors. The reason we do this, adding wire to the base and to the top core, was because if you noticed, reactor number 2 and then reactor number 3 in the hanging core, and then reactor number 3 in the SSI1 were keep on stopping. And Armen said the motors, he kept on changing motors. I explained to him, this is a magnetic gravitational field pressure which is stopping the motors. And for this reason, you need to create a drainage for the system. And what you do is that by draining or showing the direction of flow by adding like a LED light into the circuit between the layers, you show which way you want the field to flow outwards. And in doing so, you expand and make it easy for the plasma to flow throughout the wall. And then your plasma can expand beyond the boundary of the dome and the plate. It serves 2 or 3 purposes at the same time. You drain the system from any extra power that can go through the motors and become a generator and then stop them. The second is that by draining it, you show the direction of flow for your plasma, which way to go, because it's going towards the body, the outer core, outer boundary of the metal. And thirdly is that once it reaches in that point, it creates a saturation, and the field flow from the nano layers pushes the field back in to create a gravitational magnetic field. So in a way you come in and then you push back outwards. There's a flow in this system. One is the copper coils were not coated, and then the inside or outside. This was done deliberately, that we allow the fields to be constant and to go through the field up. If we do not achieve what we are expecting to do, then we coat the inside the cores and then the outside. Then the only point of interaction will be the beams from the motors to extract. This is an extension to the knowledge.
Okay, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning.
Wrap things up.
You got
here.
the message.
I
see Vince put on good morning. Yes, good morning, Vince.
We've gone over our 3.5 hour limit here. I think we're going to start frying circuits at this point. So we got away with it so far. So we should just cross our fingers and
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much.
thank you. That was...
Let me, before we close, let me explain. We are expecting the signing of the agreement with the university within coming hours. If it happens, the foundation, in conjunction with the university, will release simultaneously a press release, and the video of the Keshe Foundation immediately will be displayed on the internet and the what you call it, server of the university. They have to look at the final product once the team of the university have completed it. We are expecting to announce this within the coming days, or they need a few days to adjust for the press release. The university considers a major move for the university, and especially for southern Italy. So we might release a press release on the forum and immediate access to the video, which is made by the Keshe Foundation team. And then you can immediately apply for university. We are looking for a specific caliber of scientists and individuals with the talent to add to the knowledge. We don't look at if you're a professor. We received a lot of applications from leading scientists and doctors who they see as their intellectual right, the right to be in the first team. But we look for the calibers of the scientists who can add to the knowledge. Today with me, as you notice, I had to stop. We received just now one of the leading gravitational doctors in Italy present to see if we can contribute towards the knowledge. And on the other hand, please, there is no boundary and there is no limit who can join, but we have limited the numbers between the 50 and 100 maximum in the first, what do you call it, a group of masters. I know we received a huge request from the Italian scientists to be part of it. They see it to be their university, their country, but we try to keep everything in a balance in respect to the world scientists that they can be here. Every one of you is considered as a scientist. We are, as I said, we don't look at the degrees and we don't look at the, what you call, the color, race or religion. What you can contribute in the long term for the spread of the knowledge, that's what it counts, and what you can bring initially on the table. So you might see a release by the Keshe Foundation on the forum within the coming days, and then international press release on the developments. And then at the same time, we hope to announce the hospital, and then next week you will understand one of the leading hospitals in the world has accepted to apply and accept the technology of the Keshe Foundation as a core point for their, what do you call it, the health section, which we add to it, and then you literally can apply. It's one of the most leading hospitals in the world. That is, once the agreements are signed within the next 2 or 3 weeks, then you can actually attend the hospital for asking for the process of the Keshe Foundation, as not called, we don't consider as a treatment, but as a process. Thank you very much for today. We have enough. I have to disappear very quickly, but hopefully we meet each other on Tuesday as usual time.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. That was
Thank you, Mr.
quite a lot expounded on in that session.
We'll see. Now you know your fuel and you know your universal language.
There's at least a year's worth of things just to go through in this workshop, I think, for
and now we know how to
students.
nano code too.
How about it took you a year?
It's okay.
It's simple, but not easy.
Not easy. All the best. See you on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wins.
Yep, after.
Have a quick chat immediately because I have to go.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. Call me when you're ready. I'm on the spaceship, space live stream. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending. That was the 48th Keshe Knowledge Seekers Workshop.